Welcome to Kranky Live Sports Talk, where passion meets action.
Hey sports fans, I am Kranky, and this is the Kranky Live Sports Talk, the podcast where we dive deep into the hottest topics, the biggest games, and the most controversial moments in sports.
Whether it's football, basketball, track and field, cricket, or soccer, we've got you covered with expert analysis, insider interviews, and unfiltered opinions.
Join me as I chat with the biggest names in sports, get exclusive insights and stories you won't hear anywhere else.
Kranky Live Sports Talk is where you can hear the real talk, the hard-hitting questions, and the hottest takes.
So, if you're a true sports fanatic, you don't want to miss out? Subscribe now to the Kranky Live Sports Talk on YouTube and hit that bell icon to never miss an episode.
Kranky Live Sports Talk, where sports come alive. Subscribe today.
Me now? Let me know if you can hear me. This is not good. Can you hear me now? No sound? No? No sound? Let me know if you can hear me. Oh, you can hear me now? Okay. I'm not sure what happened, actually. I thought this was all hooked up. Nothing is out of place. Bless up loved one, bless up Michael Roberts. All my stuff is hooked up here. So why it wasn't going through is beyond me. But anyway, I was saying before, as I was speaking to myself, it appears. Thanks for joining. Hit the button as you come in. You know what the button is. Appreciate you being here. And as I was saying before, because I guess I was talking to myself, it appeared. I'm not sure why my system was working because I hooked it up before I came in to have this discussion. Is that when talk about Steve McClaren today, quite a bit about him, but also time permitting, talk about the EPL because the season is getting ready to start and want to have that dialogue. Bless up Ricardo Baggio. Thanks for joining. Eco Reeks, One Love, DC. I thought, well, I said, see, DC, I have to give to get to you. I tell you, well, thanks for hitting the button. If I'm going to see it moving, I was at 14. Now watch it, DC, not move. That means you don't hit it yet. Bless up, know yourself. You know, hit it yet. Yeah, so there's been a lot of discussion on a number of different channels about Steve McClaren and his record and whether or not he's the right person for the job, regardless of what we think he's the right person for the job because he got the job. Now, whether he succeeds in the job, we can talk about that this evening. And by the way, people, we can make this a call-in show if you so choose because the number is across the screen. And let me make sure the number is hooked up because I don't know why my sound is messing up actually. But I want to get your views as to whether or not, given what you know of Steve since you've been doing your own research and getting more information and intelligence, whether or not you think he's the person for the job. right? Because it's important for us to have that dialogue. Bless up, Best House Commentary and Midnight Cowboy, Kimar. Thanks for coming in. So I've done some of my own research. I mean, I know Steve McClaren a little bit now. I wouldn't say extensively, but since he's been hired, I've been really doing some more insightful research to figure out who he is, what he entails, and as my thumbnail sort of suggests, is he the chosen one? Is he the Messiah for us? Bless up, Ernest. Thanks for joining. And as we go to the discussion, we can all formulate our perspective, if you haven't done so already, about whether he is the savior for the football. Because as you know, we haven't been to the World Cup. It will be, by the time the next World Cup come around, it'll be 28 years. So if we haven't made it, it would have been 28. If we have made it, it'd be the first time in 28 years, regardless. So let's see how that goes. But we should talk about Steve quite a bit, actually. So in doing my research on Steve, it's really interesting in terms of he was a football player, but mainly at the lower leagues. And if you have followed most of the football coaches in the world who have done really well, just in general, actually, it's a very mixed bag in terms of one's football career and the prominence of it versus your ability, how will that transition to being an excellent manager / coach. And then for Steve, he played a lot in the lower leagues. Bless up, Tony. If you want to join, Tony, let me know. Bless up, Tony. Johnny, we talk about somebody who lives in your domain in Steve McClaren, and the question I'm asking is he the Messiah from a Jamaica context? Because obviously, somebody's telling me that they can't. My microphone is not on. Can you guys hear me well? I got a text to my microphone. They can hear me, but my microphone is not on. I'm hearing me through the microphone now, so maybe it's better now, even though I'm getting a bit of feedback. So the question that arises is that, Tony, is he the Messiah for us in the context of will he get us to the World Cup? Because that's and not only is he the Messiah, but we don't just want to go to the World Cup, people, and then drop out after the first round, right? If we're gonna go to the World Cup, we got to go there and make a stand, and be an important player in whatever zone we're situated in. So we just want to go there and just play and go home. That's not like we did last time we went to France and we had the Argentina and Japan's in our zone. I think we had Croatia also. Tough zone. We want to go there and compete. So what we need to do, actually, as a country and as a team, I think, is all hands on deck for us to be successful from where I sit. We seem to have this misconception that it's only up to the administration or only up to the manager or only up to the players. Bless up, Toughy Rudy. Thanks for joining. And not be considering that it should be a holistic approach whereby every single party, every single stakeholder who's part of this process is helping the process to be executed well, and for us to end up in a good place and a good outcome, which is to not only get to the World Cup, but when we get there, to be very supportive of the team. So let's sort of talk through the sort of elements that informs all of this, right? So Steve played low league football in the UK, and instead of Premier League or Division One. But he's been manager for a long time, right? He spent some time at Man U, even before he started his career as an assistant. And while there, he was there to like 2001 timeline when Alex Ferguson was initially planning to retire. Though Ferguson went on for about 10 more years. And Ferguson was always retiring. I always thought he was going to go deal with his horses. That's a float management. But that changed. And Steve decided to go seek pastures because as you're an assistant, you want to eventually run your own shop, right? So he went to Middlesbrough, where I think he probably had most of his success around 2001 timeline. That's where I think he had most of his success. If you look through his history and his career, that's where he had most of his success. Obviously, he had subsequent success at FC20 in Holland. But throughout his career, if you look at Middlesbrough, where he won the League Cup in 2004, He did really well in terms of the league at one point, finishing, I think, about 12th. He beat Man U in the FA Cup and lost to Arsenal. So he had some success at Middlesbrough. And then when his Middlesbrough career, and there's been discussion about whether he's being fired in some instances, whether he got let go, resigned. To me, when teams get tired of you, you move on. Whether you want to resign or they fire you, it's all one and the same in a lot of instances. If you don't resign to a bigger job, to me, then you can play semantics all you want. You got let go. So he went to FC20. And the challenge that you have with Steve when you look through his career, apart from the Middlesbrough tenure and his sort of first 2 years at FC20, they're very short stint. And we'll go through that long list. Very short stint. Right? Which then says something about the manager in some respects. Because we know football coaches and their careers are pretty short. But when you're successful, you probably be at a club 3-4 years. Then you think about higher pastures. If not, you may be asked to reconsider something else. And that, I think, was him. So he was at Middlesbrough between 2000 and 2006. He was deemed as one of the more promising managers in England during that time as a very young manager. And young is relative because he's, 63 now? And that was early 2000s, so probably early 40s or late 30s. And he did well there. And eventually, when England, had their troubles on Ericsson and all that, he got the England job, right? After leaving Middlesbrough. 2006, 2007, he was England coach. And there, I became more familiar with Steve then, and he had a tough time. They did make the Euros, which was heresy on England's part, given the team that they had at the time. And I think in that whole period, he had Beckham out the team. And one thing I used to love about Beckham as a player, and a lot of players should look at Beckham's career and try to emulate in terms of how he operated. You never hear Beckham have any fight with anyone else. People that fight with Beckham, he wasn't fighting with anyone. And even when Beckham get left out of the England squad, you didn't hear him in the back, carrying on and creating havoc. When he went to Real Madrid, it was the same thing when he got benched. Eventually, he always got back in the team, and he did, but couldn't save them, actually. And then McLaren went there to FC20 to rebuild his career, won the championship there, then moved to Wolfsburg in Germany. Was only there for less than a year, about a year. Less than a year he was there. Didn't go well. Came to Nottingham Forest. Then moved on to Derby County, then to Newcastle. Was fired from Newcastle about a year or so. The record was bad, and I'll show you the record. So the roles that he played and his career has been interesting in terms of the journey. And it's been I call it a very mixed career. It's not been, I don't want to use any of the premier managers as the criteria because I'm not sure that's fair. But I wouldn't say it's been one of those careers where you get overly excited about. And so the question should be, what about Steve McClaren should you be excited about, right? So this is his sort of managerial career in a nutshell. And you can look at the years, right? Now, the one thing I did actually, because someone was saying, if you look, sometimes these pictures can be a little bit deceiving. If you look at the picture, it's a 44% winning percentage, right? And one could say, well, that's less than 50%. That's not great. But here's what we don't do when we do these assessments, which I find interesting. So if you look at the list here, he worked 3, 6, 9, 12, Jamaica makes 12 jobs per se. He has more than 12 jobs because he was at Man U. These are sort of head coaching jobs. He was at Man U actually as an assistant, and he had an assistant job at Man U way back in Ferguson's days, 2000 period, 99 period, right? So he had about 12 jobs. But most of the jobs here that he had, 5 years at Middlesbrough, less than a year for England, couple years at 20. He did win the championship at 20, and he did really well at Middlesbrough. He went to UEFA Cup also. Didn't win, but did well in that competition. Wolfsburg in Germany didn't do really well. Nottingham Forest was it was a very short period, only 13 games. 20 went back, 63 games, 30 wins. So he's won half his game, a little bit less than half his game. That was decent. Derby County, long tenure, 2013 to 15 for managers nowadays, 95 games. good winning percentage. Newcastle didn't go really well. You can see 18 losses, but that's the Premier League for you. Derby County again, percentage wasn't great. But here's the thing, people, we should assess this. Leave 433 alone, people. He has his perspective. Why you guys give him such a hard time? But here's the thing, people. So when we look at these things, we keep on saying that his winning percentage is only 44%, right? But then the question is, what's his losing percentage? Well, it's only 32%. Now, the rest are draws, right? All depends on when you define draw. 3 draws equates to a loss in terms of points, right? So you can divide the draws by 3 to get down to where you want to get to. But frankly, he has less, the percentage loss, the percentage win of 44 is better than the 32% loss for me in terms of how you look at this. So it's net positive. Call it 44 over 70, whatever you want to use. It's net positive, the ratio of wins to loss, because that's how I take draws out of the equation a lot of times, right? Those could go either way. So I think when we think about these things, yes, he's had a lot of jobs. He said he's been coaching for like 30 plus years, but this is 2001, so I call it 23 years of him being a head coach / manager. In 23 years, you have 12 jobs. That's a lot of jobs, people. I worked for, what jobs have I had in my career? About 5 or 6 over 30 years. So I've always thought that a 4-year ratio is a good ratio. 4 or 5 year ratio. 2, even though it's a much shorter time span for managers, it's kind of short, to be frank. If you're successful, more than often you're going to be, unless you're going up the ladder, you're going to be at the club for 3 years, right? Minimum, I would think, if you're successful. So, but what's also important actually is that we don't talk about managers is what jobs are you taking? Are you taking jobs because you're desperate and you just want a job, and you're taking jobs which you can't win in? And somebody who may be a good example is Wayne Rooney, who, when he left Man U, took the Derby job, player coach, then went to DC, which wasn't doing well, went back to Birmingham, who were doing well, and they went down opposite. And now he's at Plymouth, and they started off bad, right? But frankly, he's always getting jobs. So there are 2 ways to look at this. We know it's a high turnover job, but the very good coaches stay in jobs at the same time. Arteta has won 1 FA Cup and he's at Arsenal for about 5 years now. Pep has been at Man City for how long? Pep was in Bayern Munich for how long? Before he left of his own volition? 3 years. At Man City for what? About 6 years now. Arteta has been there 4 years. When you're successful, you're not spending a year and a half in jobs 2 years. Some Allardyce have a lot of jobs, but nobody's using some Allardyce as the benchmark for anything except low block football. And then he got his hand caught in the cookie jar for England, right? You look at coaches, they may average, as I said, 3 years if they're very, very good coaches. If they're okay coaches, maybe 2 years. You don't see a lot of very, very good coaches only spending 2 years on a job unless they're winning really well and they're parachuting up the ladder. That doesn't happen. No, that's true. But I'm saying unless you're going vertical or you're going on an incline, which is you're going up, you're not going to be changing jobs in a year and a half all the time. It's not happening. Not if you're winning really well. Unless you look at De Bersey, who fought out with Brighton. That's not happening. Right? And that's not Steve McClaren who's going to be falling out with people. He's a gentleman, frankly, if you know his history. But it also maybe sometimes these coaches take jobs which are impossible jobs. I don't have quality infrastructure. I don't have quality players. I don't have transfer budget. I think I can turn things around. I take the job and then it doesn't work out and I look bad. But at the time I thought I had to take it because the head coaching job and I wanted the job, right? And we've seen that with some coaches. Difficult situations. They think they have the skill set to get the job done and it doesn't work out that way. But as I said before, if you take out, look, it's even worse. If you take out the Middlesbrough tenure, which is about 5 years from this, then it's 11 jobs, right? It's 11 jobs in 20 years, 19 years, less than 2 years. So I can understand the perspective, but I'm not trying you to beat the coach. I'm just giving you what the numbers say. And I also give him credit because I don't think you get enough credit about his win percentage, because it's 44%. But in actuality, you take out the draws, the losses are about 37%. So he's a winning coach net. Even though 44% says otherwise, I don't view it that way. Because I don't think you give the person the benefit of the doubt when it comes to almost like including draws and losses when you say somebody winning percentage 44%, and it's not reflective of the totality of how their team probably play or what the outcomes were. Because a draw is not a loss. Unless you draw 3 games in a row, a draw is not a loss. That's how I sort of think about it. So Steve has an interesting resume, frankly. Someone can say, well, he got let go a lot from a lot of these jobs. And you could do the reverse and say, yeah, he got let go, but he also got a lot of jobs. Somebody must think that you're competent. And I think when he got his first job for Middlesbrough, I think there were 3 teams fighting for him, actually. West Ham being one of those teams. And he went to Middlesbrough. So he was really well thought of as a young manager. And his tenure at FC20 suggests that, his 5 years at Middlesbrough, FC20, doing really well. Subsequent to that, apart from his Derby stint, and maybe Queen's Park, Queen's Park wasn't that great. It's been challenged since then. So if you take him up to, for the last 10, 11 years, it hasn't been the best journey for him, I don't think, actually. But if he didn't have ability, I'm sure Ten Hag wouldn't have took him to Man U and have him been a coach. Now, if you heard Rudolph Speed talked about what he was looking for from a manager, he was looking for someone who had international experience. He was looking for someone who was a coach, not just a manager, because he wanted the person to work with players, not just be there giving direction. As how, like, for example, bless up John Powell, as how Sir Alex Ferguson was. Ferguson didn't take training session. He had his coach do it. Right? He wanted somebody with significant experience, probably just international, just a well thought of person. I think he got someone to me who has affiliation with a lot of is known by a lot of players or in the UK. He's worked with some of them. He's familiar with some of them. He talked about the Burton and the Powells who were at Derby when he was there. So he has experience in the UK, and players would have known him, which I think is important when it comes to recruiting. Very important. So Antonio United says, losing almost 1 3 game is questionable to me over 30 years of coaching. Losing one in 3 games is questionable, really? If you have a 66% record of non-losing, is that questionable? I don't know about that. Right? I'm not sure that's a terrible record. It all depends on the teams that you have, the players that you have, the leagues you play in, what you're afforded by management. There's a lot of different factors that inform someone's career, And some people like Pep, because of his tenure at Barcelona and his success, don't take jobs unless it's guaranteed to win. When Pep took over Bayern won before Pep. Pep never won the Champions League, and they won it right after Pep left. Pep came to England. Mancini won before Pep. Pellegrini won before Pep. So he's taking over organization win. They brought him to win Champions League. It took him forever to win the Champions League. No one is questioning Pep's pedigree as a manager and as a coach. No one. Well, most people are not. I'm not questioning it. But the point I'm trying to make is that it all depends on facts and circumstances and situations that inform sometimes your success. It's not just about, am I a good coach? The question is, as he alluded to in his press conference, when you play certain football, you got to have the players. So DJ Giggs said, Kranky, when should a coach not be blamed? A coach is always blamed, regardless. No matter what, if you have the worst squad, you're always blamed. I think, look, the coach is always going to get blamed. No matter if you have so if you're Luton, for example, if you're Burnley, that just came up to chat, and you get no resources to buy in quality players, you come to the Premier League with all these teams Nottingham Forest spending over 100 million. Yet fans still expect you to be successful. Even though they know you don't have the tools and the resources to be so, it's still an expectation. Now, some coaches can be extremely innovative, creative, and find ways to eke out results. Some Allardyce used to do that, right? Even though I say he's a low block coach, Allardyce would say, as McLaren said about Ferguson, which is, don't let the opposition score. So you fight like heck to make them not score. You set yourself up. You try to get someone who can put the ball in the net at the other end, and then you fight in the middle, right? That's the concept Allardyce utilizes. And he plays a lot of low block, even though he complains that he only plays low block because of the players he has. Right? So if you're like Allardyce, who always get teams at a regulation, except for the last time he tried to do so, that didn't work out. You will set your team up not to be beaten. If you're like Vincent Kompany at Burnley, who played possession football in the championship, come to Premier League, try to do the same thing. God is, hand it to him. And don't ask me how this works, people. But then left to get a Bayern job. Don't ask me how that works. I have no idea. He was good with Burnley. He was a brilliant player, good with Burnley in the championship. Came to the big leagues and God is, handed to him. And he went to a team where they just lost the Bundesliga. Can somebody explain that? I have no idea how people make some of these decisions or in the boardroom. Reasonable time frame for a coach? It depends, right? Somebody's ringing the phone already. Good evening. Good evening. Who am I speaking to? You said Jermaine? You're breaking up. You may have to call back in there. You're breaking up. I can't hear you. Hello? Yeah, I can hear you. Yes. Go ahead. Okay. Wait, 1 second. They said they can't hear you. I'm not sure why they can't hear you because it's all set up. You guys can't hear it? Can't hear the caller. What's happened to my system? Give me 1 second. Oh, my system. Go ahead. They should be able to hear you now. I'm not sure what happened a while ago. Go ahead. Start over.
Yes. Good afternoon again to your viewers and you as well, Kranky. I'm just saying I have an issue and I just like to use your platform to highlight it. So
Okay.
we all know the situation regarding the Reggae Boyz and support and such. And I'm one of the few who is always encouraging my colleagues to go to games and filling them on the latest regarding the Reggae Boyz. And then the last matches that we had, I was one of them who I did not get any free tickets. I purchased ticket for myself and several members of my family to go and watch the game. Now, persons are talking about accuracy, reliability, and that kind of thing, and they weren't giving accurate information on the day because once CONCACAF was saying 3:30, they were saying 6:30, and persons were still buying tickets, and I was one of them who buy a ticket thinking it would have been at that particular time, and I bought tickets for my family. I didn't get any free tickets. No, I took the day off and I went with my father, and the other person who I bought it for could not attend because of the change in time. Now, the president would have come out and said that, okay, this is something we're gonna have to discuss with the board, and I've asked on several platforms, what's the latest regarding the tickets? All I keep hearing, according to persons giving information, is that, oh, the president said this, the president said that, which the president did say they're going to discuss it at a board meeting. But my understanding is that the last board meeting they would have had was to ratify the coach. And that was not mentioned. And if it is Kranky, we're talking about support, and you have a few persons who are supporting, and I spend my money. I didn't get any free ticket. I spend my money and bought the ticket. And now I'm trying to figure out, okay, will this ticket still be valid? And no one is giving, you're not hearing anything. So I don't know if you can touch base with Speed and ask him what's the situation regarding that, because it's unfair for them to change the time. And even last minute, they kept saying 6:30. While CONCACAF page was saying 3:30, and then no, we have to suffer. This makes no sense because at the end of the day, if we're saying that we want support and you have the few persons who are supporting who are actually buying tickets, again, I did not get any free ticket. I bought three tickets, and I was one person who was encouraging others to go to the game. And I can't know, and September is literally right around the corner. And I don't suppose that they're going to have any board meeting soon to discuss that. I'm sure that was not discussed at the board meeting to ratify the coach.
Right. So I'll follow up with someone. I'll probably won't go to Rudolph. I'll follow up with somebody else and find out from them if they have any intelligence and information.
Yeah, please don't ask Simon. All he's going to tell you is he's going to reiterate that the president said this and the president said that.
Okay.
And he's not going to I've asked him on several occasions. That's what he keeps reiterating. And as a press officer, I would think that you would actually go and try to find out, okay, what's the latest? Right. September 6th is literally around the corner. And if it is Kranky that I don't, the fact if I can't use this ticket, I'm just gonna watch a game on TV because it makes no sense. Because I'm one of the persons who is ardently following the Reggae Boyz and actually going to the games.
So do you have one ticket or three tickets? It's one ticket, right?
No. I took the day off and I went. So
right.
two of the tickets were used, but one of them because the person couldn't come.
Right, that's what I mean. So it's one ticket that was unused.
Yes,
you're saying, can I use that ticket for September 6th if I decide to go to September 6th game? Right, that's what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me try to figure out a way to follow up on that. You know what? Let me try that down and see if we can get some answers for you.
Yes, I really appreciate it.
Okay, no problem.
And please don't ask Simon, because he's not going to give me
they're different.
Because all he's doing is reiterating the foolishness that the president said this, and there's no follow-up. He's not following. He's just reiterating the same.
Okay.
Yes,
right.
please. Thank you.
All right. Thanks for the call.
Yeah, man. Respect.
All right. So you know what? Somebody can clip this for me. Come here, clip this, because make sure you get to the right. You know what? Make me clip it when the thing is done. And make sure you try to get to the right person. Because it's a fair question, actually, which is if you give misinformation out, which cause someone to lose out in terms of attending the game and lose monetary consideration, then you probably should reimburse the people who didn't utilize their ticket, especially if you can justify as to why that's the case. So, yeah, that's not a good thing. And you're right. There was a lot of misinformation being communicated about that situation, which needed better resolution. And that's why people always complain about the JFF, right? There's always something. And even though the lights may not have been their fault, I don't want to go back to revisionist history, but it wasn't a good situation. That should have changed, should never have occurred, and there should be better communication around that. I'm stop the DJ thing, you know. Me get too much grief. People say one say he gave me a 0.5, not even a 5 for my DJ. So even though nobody can really discourage me from doing what I want to do in life, to be honest. But if most people don't want you to do something, then you shouldn't do it, right? You should do it in your own time, in your own space. If they're saying you're not bringing value to the table, so I can live with that. I can live with that. I'm not perturbed about that. RR. So RR, I would not. You know, I almost opened the show with Steve McClaren, my thumbnail with Steve McClaren, say he's the chosen one, and the ball possession song. And I say I'm not that brave today, so I'm not doing it. But I probably should have done it. Wow. Since you do that, I should have done it. Ikarit, I don't know. I hear Cephas is missing. If you guys should try to find him. I have no idea what's happening. It's on a lot of shows. I haven't watched those shows, but I just see the headlines of him being missing. So hopefully we can find Cephas wherever he is. Hopefully he's okay. Not sure what's happening. So we can come back to the theme is on McLaren today. So we can come back to McLaren. So we just talked about the back and forth about McLaren, and I see 433 is in a 433. Yeah, we're gonna try to win, but the people in 433. Let me see what 433 is saying because he's getting beaten. He said he's posting income as far as I know, but to be honest, all right, okay, well, clients might be on the move this summer. At least 2 players already. Yeah, don't know about that. But 433, you're getting beaten. 433. People are saying you've been very negative about the new manager, McLaren. Here's what I say, people, about McLaren, and we've talked about what I deem to be the things for him to be successful, right? And the most important thing that I need to bring to the table. And there's a bunch of them I have here, but I have the most important one, which is, before I go further, let me put this up. Claudine said, really, Kranky, if your DJ skill gives you pleasure and you're having fun,
Yeah, but no, but it's. Am I offending people when I play my DJ set? There's a difference, you know. It may give me fun, but is my audience receptive? Because they're not receptive while you're doing it, right? If you're gonna put a product out and your audience is saying we don't like the product, we don't want this product, then I think you do your audience a disservice. Now, if you like it, you can keep doing it, but probably in your own time. But if I get half the people saying I like it and half don't like it, then I probably would do it for the half that like it, and the half don't like it, close their ears. That's how I operate. Now, if we go back to McLaren in terms of what I think he needs to do, to me, the most important thing he needs to do by far is recruiting. Now, I have a bunch of stuff here that he needs to do also. And I know we're going to talk about the administration and what they do and the style of play and all that. He needs to recruit players. We have good players. We need some better players in some areas, and we need competition for places. Right? That's important. No, DJ, you won't hear that. You won't hear that. We need competition for places. Now, there are a number of players we know with Jamaican heritage. Some are closer than others. I've been given names. Luckily, I don't come on these platforms and spout out certain names about certain things, because I'm telling you, people, a year ago, I was given 3 sureties. Hasn't materialized yet, I'll tell the truth. Good names have materialized. So I am very cautious when I put my neck on the block in public domain about some of these things, because it can be very embarrassing if you're guaranteeing people turning up and they don't turn up for whatever reason. TikTok is saying, please don't let 433 bog down the show. He and his psychics are terrible, always trying to be controversial. But TikTok, you're controversial to TikTok. Come on, TikTok, man. Who's more controversial than you? Because everyone says you're a JFF employee. So 433 is who 433 is. We're all unique in our own ways, right? And we keep beating certain people sometimes, and we don't look in the mirror and say, why, I maybe just be perceived from a different angle the same way. Because TikTok, you're controversial on TikTok. Trust me. Sometimes some things are plain, clean, clear, especially when it comes to the administration. And you're like, no, you guys are wrong. So come on, TikTok, man. 433 is who he is. He's a very smart kid, by the way. He's a young kid, but he's a smart kid. You have to give him his credit. Sometimes he can come across a certain way, but you know what? We all have our thing that people take onus with. So we can't beat him. But as I was saying before, recruiting to me is the most important thing he needs to do. Jesus. First, I better we can change your name. First, I change your name. So, who are some of the players that we got to think about? And there's a bunch of them people with Jamaican heritage. But here's some of the ones that I like, actually, that we should pursue. I haven't ranked them in terms of our ability to source them. And some are closer than others, right? So, Amari Hutchinson, to me, is like number 1 on the list. The reason why, because he was with us. I know there's been this consternation about Amari saying he comes, but he's on the fence. And I've said he's been on the fence, actually, which appears to be. But I got some intelligence that Amari does want to come and play, but there were some issues with the previous regime as to why he probably didn't come in. And he probably will come in this time around. When I say regime, don't mean JFF people. So don't say I say JFF. Not JFF, the previous regime that now McLaren has assumed that was responsibilities. So, and obviously he has his papers. He's already in a good place. So he should be one of the easier ones to bring in, right? TikTok. If anybody tells you you're not smart on TikTok, you lose your mind. And I said that. Bless up, Marlon. Thanks for joining. Hear me, TikTok? If anyone in the car use smart TikTok, you beat them. I try not to challenge people's intellect, but I will take onus with things that they say, our opinions, our perspective that they have. So we're getting a call in, people. Good evening. 1 second. Good evening. Good evening.
Hello?
Good evening. Yes.
Yes. I'm not going by force this year. I press it to the Kranky.
I'm giving you only 5 minutes because the people are complaining, so I'm gonna give you 5 minutes.
How many of us take 5 minutes? I just want to tell you people, refrain from being disrespectful and casting the word not smart on people,
Right.
One thing my father always told me is that we're all done for something, you know what I'm saying? Until we learn it. So not saying I'm done to football, but I think I'm quite smart. And yeah, I think my knowledge is good enough to make certain artists to have certain opinions on certain people. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Might not be at that level, but I think I'm diverse enough in the field.
One second. Let me
That's all
turn
I-
you up. I think people said they can't hear you well. Can you guys hear him now?
That's
Oh no, he's
that's
better.
all
He's
I have
better.
to say to the people. You know what I'm saying?
No. Repeat what you said, because they couldn't hear you well. Repeat what you said.
No, I'm saying the people should refrain from saying people are you know, a specific person, which is me, is not smart, or my co-host, you know, and that goes for TikTok. You know what I'm saying?
So is it that you're just controversial?
No, I just have a strong opinion, and I'm a person that tends to stand on my opinion. So
Yeah.
you know, I'm not somebody that is going to be, you know, it's not that I have to prove my opinion, Kranky, but if somebody stands up against it, then I feel like I have to go the extra mile to prove what I'm saying is true. You know what I'm saying? And
Right.
I think that's the nature of conversations, but I guess some people don't go to that length of, you know what I'm saying, having conversations in that sense.
Okay. All right, sir. Appreciate the call.
Yeah, bless up.
All right, bless up. So that was 433 say you need to be more balanced in our perspective on him, because look, I think 433 is a smart kid. Let's be I know some people don't think that way, but he's a smart kid. Now, he may have views which are the extreme in some instances. He may create these situations which people are going to push back on, but he's a smart kid. You can't say somebody's not smart because they say things may be controversial or difficult to digest, right? But yeah. Hey, Claudine, I hope you have someone mentioned you have a good shift. I hope you have a good shift, Claudine. You can listen while you're on your way, Claudine. You can listen on your way. So Michael Woodburn has his list. Let me see if all the people on my list. I don't have 2 of yours, Michael, because I'm not sure one of them will be coming. So let me go through my list and we touch your list, Michael. Max Aarons, a right back who played really well, was at Bournemouth, haven't started every game, but did well in the Premier League before he went to the Championship and come back up. And I thought he would have joined us already, actually. But he's not here. But I would expect him to be here. If not this window, then the next window. Someone who's not on anybody's list here, Cameron Archer. People have Sims. I don't have Sims on my. I have Sims on my list, but I'm not. I have Sims at the bottom of my list. I don't have Sims. Somebody I saw him. I see him play for Coventry. Good player, score a bunch of goals. But to me, Cameron Archer is extremely dynamic, and somebody I think we should definitely pursue. I think he's going to Villa now. I think he has a lot of qualities. He's not on Michael's list. I don't see him on Marlon's list. But I see Cameron Archer as a very dynamic forward, mobile, with some skill who we could utilize up front. Isaac Hayden. I don't see him on. I'm just comparing this now. I don't see him on Michael Woodburn list. I don't see him on Marlon list. We've been trying to get Isaac for God knows how long. When he was at Newcastle playing well, tore up his knee, went on to the Championship. I think Isaac is somebody, since we've been dying to get someone in the 6th role, that's a possibility. It's a probability. I don't know, but it's a possibility. Even though I'm probably knowing more than I'm saying. Reece Nelson. Reece Nelson, who was in Jamaica, supposedly for vacation. I think he was there for more than vacation. But I think Reece, who's at Arsenal now, but looking to move, trying to get game time, he will create competition for places. He's a very good player, by the way. And we know we talk about Saka. Are we talking about Saka and Martinelli nowadays? That was Reece in the academy. Hasn't worked out for him as well. Went on loan in Germany, came back, went on loan in Holland. But I think Reece is a very good player and can add value to the team. And will give competition for places to both the right and left side of the wing position. So I do think Reece is somebody we should definitely consider. I say Reece is on Michael's list. I don't have Mason Holgate on the list, Michael Woodburn. And the reason is I've watched Mason Holgate for a long, long, long time. Good footballer. Probably can even play the 6, Very versatile. Can play center half. Can play right or left back. But, we have this comment about somebody who plays for Jamaica now, even though he did push back on me on that and showed me stats to say it's not the case. Holgate is a walking red card. I know Holgate going to take offense to that too, but it's a walking red card to me. At least a walking yellow and a running red. So I didn't have him on my list just for that reason, because I'm not sure if we can afford Mason Holgate. So Mason, don't take it personal if you ever watch this channel. Mason Greenwood, who's on my list. I'm gonna read your list, Michael, and I read my list. He's on my list. Look, Mason Greenwood come to Jamaica is a different discussion, regardless of his problems that he had at Man U. Mason Greenwood come to Jamaica, automatic starter, different conversation, people. This kid was in the England squad at 19. The reason why Man U wanted to bring him back wasn't because they love him, because of his football ability. Ridiculous ability, quick, left foot, right foot, can go by a player, can play center forward, can play 10, can play both wings. He would be ideal. A lot of back and forth about Greenwood for a long time now. Possibility, this window coming, may not be, but hopefully by next window. Because he doesn't have any choice in the country to play for. He's not going to play for England. They will not have him. Ben Godfrey, I have Ben on my list. Ben reminds me of Holgate, except he's not a walking red card, but he was at Everton with Holgate. Good players, but I think we have competent players where they play, center half or right or left back. Godfrey is very, by the way, Holgate and Godfrey are very, very versatile. They can play right across the defensive line, right? But so they're useful, more like utility players. Godfrey's now gone to Germany, right? Everton sold him. Because I don't think Godfrey has achieved his potential, at least what he was previously. But he's a good player. But I'm not, if I were to have hierarchy, both he and Holgate wouldn't be at the top of my hierarchy. Gibbs White, who's on my list. After Mason Greenwood, in terms of priority, he's the next priority. Now, in terms of achievability, I think it's Omar Hutchinson. In terms of who you prioritize, if you could get them, it's Greenwood and then Gibbs White. Like, I didn't necessarily love, did I not say Italy, Tennessee? Yeah, it's Italy. I know he went to Italy, so if I didn't say Italy, I meant Italy. Gibbs White to me is, when he was sold by Wool for 40 million to Nottingham, I'm like, I watch a kid play. He's okay. He's improved leaps and bounds in the last year and a half. Leaps and bounds. To the point where he probably can play 5 positions. He can play either wing. He can play the 8. He can play the 10. Can he play the 6? I don't know. Probably asking a lot, but he's a complete footballer, which is why, and I know he's on England radar and he was disappointed not to go to the Euros, but you know what? He may still be in that position given all the talent they have. There's some of these kids who will not get into the England team, who may be on the periphery, and we got to be very careful that England and what they have now, the new coach who knows a lot of these players, don't just give them the cap that they give Maitland-Niles a cap, they give ESR caps, and then they can't play after that, and they cap tied and can't play for any other country. These kids have to be very careful about that, and we have to make them aware, and McLaren has to make them aware. You come to Jamaica, you not that you guarantee to start, but you guarantee to play quite a bit. You go to England, you may get 1 cap and that's it. You're left out forever. So we have to be able to make a compelling argument for them to come join us, because some of the kids are not familiar with us, haven't been to Jamaica, families far removed. We have to make a compelling argument for them to come and join us. That's important. People, I haven't talked about this a lot tonight. I don't like the number of likes I'm getting. I don't like the likes. I don't think you're getting quality information. I don't like the likes. I'm not convinced by the likes. They're not what they should be. Did I take down your list, Michael? Where's Michael's list? Go back to Michael's list. And I saw Marlon's list too, which is very similar to Michael's actually. Yeah, Michael, about Hayden and his body, I'll come to that. Because I think he's in a better place now. So Gibbs White would be ideal. Lewis Baker, we've talked about Lewis Baker a ton. I'm not sure Lewis Baker wanted to come. I was trying to remember his name. I couldn't. It's not on my list, but I'm not sure he wants to come. I'm a big fan of Kyle Walker-Peters. Big fan of Kyle Walker-Peters. Why? Very versatile. Not necessarily the best defender, even though play right back. I actually believe he can play the 8. I watched him play at Tottenham before he got sold. I watched him at Southampton. He's a very good footballer who can actually play possession football. And I'm big on people who can play possession football. So Omari Hutchinson, Max Aaron, Cameron Archer, Reese Nelson, Mason Greenwood, Kyle Walker-Peters can all, and Gibbs White can all play position football, which I'm big on, as you know, people. And I think would add value for us if we can get him. I haven't heard him being approached like a lot of the other players. He's better than, I love Lambakisa, but he's better than Lambakisa. He's just good on the ball, just a good footballer. I think Crystal Palace was looking to buy him, actually. Not sure if that progress, but he's a really good footballer who I would love to see in our team. And I think would add a lot of value. Right? A lot of value. So that was Michael's list. Marlon is saying Kranky Hayden and Gibbs White would be ideal, but worried. But yeah, but you know what? If he come on brought down Marlon a second, but he's recovered now, and he's a very good player, and and Hayden started at centre half at Arsenal. You know, he's a play centre half at Arsenal before when he went to Newcastle. He started playing. I think he was in the academy when he left us, or just left the academy. Newcastle and started playing the 6 and played it really well. So he's a versatile player, and I think he would add a lot of value. Even though you're right, he's now on the other side of 30, I think it is, or somewhere around there. And his knee injury was a serious knee injury. But if he recovers, he would help in the 6th position. Because we do need that help. Now, I have Ellie Sims. I wasn't pushing for Ellie Sims because I think we have a few forwards, coupled with, I think, Cameron Archer to me is a better option than Ellie Sims. And also, there are some players who are in some of these academies that we don't talk about. And I won't mention any names, but excellent players. I'm sure they're going to be thinking about, you know, England junior team and England senior team. But trust me, Arsenal has 1 or 2 of them who are brilliant footballers at 17, 18. Brilliant footballers, can step in our national team today, as far as I'm concerned. And some will get opportunities with Arsenal this year, hopefully, because Arteta doesn't play kids. Hopefully, hopefully he played him this year. But a couple of them, one of them is Jamaican heritage I'm aware of, and I think could walk into our team right now, frankly, even though he's 17, 18 years old. Yeah, I would agree, Marlon. I think Carsley is the interim manager for a reason. I think they're trying to test him out to see if he could transition like how Southgate did. But he knows all these young kids, and I think a lot of them will get promises that they can't keep, but they'll get the promises. No, there's a bunch of other players like Johnson and all those players. Henry from where? Where's Henry at? Brentford. There's a bunch of other players, right? Leicester have a few. There are a bunch of players out there, but these are the ones I think are much more. Well, I'm not sure Gibbs White is achievable, but a number of the players we just mentioned are much more achievable in terms of our ability to source them, right? We have 133 people. We have 86 like. That means 50-something, more than 50, because if 133 I chat, some come and leave. People just hit the like button now. I'm tired of begging now. I'm tired of beg. We just say, Kranky, have you been picking up on the belief that JPA players are worth investing in over Championship or League One players? Fan support is important 12 months. Sounds like there are 14 about. The question is, Richard, I think all Jamaican footballers are worth investing in, period, right? But the question is, we're not investing in League One or Championship players. We're not investing in them. What we're doing is utilizing them for a national team, if they're good enough. So we got to be careful with the word investing, because when they come to us, that's not investing. We buy them a plane ticket, they get hotel accommodation and food, and the trade-off is they play some football for us and they go back. Investing to me is what you do with players like in academy, for example. You bring them through the ranks. You support them holistically in a number of different ways, in terms of maybe monetary consideration. And you bring them to the ranks and bring them to the national team, which is more club duties, not necessarily JFF duties, but JFF is now having their elite program. So we're part of it. But I'm not sure. The League One clubs, the Championship clubs are the one investing in the players, not us. Now, if you mean investing from the context of should they be given an opportunity to play in the national team versus a JPL player, I think we have seen that JPL players, I'm going to put it this way, we haven't done the best job as a country investing in those players when they're more junior to allow them to transition to JPL, to allow them to play in the national team or move overseas to get the experience to play. So understand the perspective, Richard. And I think that's what's happening. We don't invest in overseas players. We invest in local players. The hope is that the local players' capability will match those of players who are born overseas and want to be part of the program. and then you can have competition for places. Right now, we don't have competition for places because the local players, and I've watched a lot of the local players, whether it's in the JPL or when they get national opportunity national team, the level is not where it needs to be, which says a lot about the coaching in Jamaica, which needs to improve. There's a lot in Jamaica needs to improve, but the coaching needs to improve to be able to have the players be able to compete with those across the globe, just like we do with our track athletes, right? We just complain about the Olympics and what transpired because we are world class in athletics. We should be having these consternation type discussion about JPL players, about how they perform, why they're not playing. We don't have those consternation. We don't have those difficult discussions when it comes to national team because we're saying the players are not at the right level. And if our under 20 performance is indicative of where we are, it's not a good look. Now I hear Rudolph in the press conference saying that they're going to come to the. It's amazing how silent we have been concerning this. Right, we've been extremely silent. The JFF, even though when they were introducing McLaren, they mentioned that they will talk about this at some point. But so maybe they're doing a post-mortem. I don't know what post-mortem they're doing. It's very obvious to the obvious eyes what happened. Players are not where they need to be. Not the kids' fault. They don't coach themselves. No, I don't think we're comparing float. I think the question is more around meaning, are we bringing in, I'm going to interpret my way, which is, are we bringing in championship player at the expense of JPL players? And wouldn't it be better to invest in JPL players? As I'm saying, we don't invest in championship players. We don't invest in any overseas players per se. In the concept of investing, we bring them in if they're good enough and they play for us, but I don't consider it investing. What we're doing with the elite program in Jamaica is investing. We're going to have an academy. We have elite. We bring up all these elite players in. Hey, thanks a lot, Isa Allen, for the super chat. He's saying, I think JPL players' investment should come from their clubs, not the national. I think it would be both. I don't think it's going to be JPL for national, but I think the concept of having elite, what FIFA is undertaking and what the JFF is doing, which is going around the island. And by the way, people, when you go around the island is not Kingston to Clarendon and turn back to Kingston. The island is a 14 parishes. We seem to have this misconception about what the island is. In fact, we go Clarendon. We don't even go down to the Portland and down the way there and St. Thomas. We go from Kingston to Clarendon and turn back. I said we do Jamaica and we do our survey. There are always going to be diamonds in the rough, which you miss if you don't do a thorough assessment and scouting of all the talent you have across the island in every little corner they are. Now, I know the JFF supposedly have these scouts now disseminated or spread out across the island to identify the talent. But it's my understanding, historically, it's not been that way. So let's hope that we can go across the island as we go sort of formulate and institute this program, this elite program for elite kids that the JFF would be underwriting and investing in. I think that's what I would determine to be investment. You bring in 14-year-old, 15-year-old, 13-year-old, maybe even 12, because some of them mature quickly. You're having them, they're getting the best coaching, they're getting facilities, they get nurturing, both mental, physical, and you bring them through the ranks. And that there will be some turnovers because you will identify more and more kids as they come through, and some may drop out because they haven't progressed as well. That to me is invest in elitism. On a general basis, as Issa is mentioning, it's the club responsibility, but it's going to be a combination, I think, between what the JPL is going to be doing, what the JFF is going to be doing, and what the clubs will be doing. So yeah, it's going to be interesting how that works going forward, given the objective of the JFF and what they're trying to achieve. But I think we all should be concerned about this, which is we had the under-20 play, which we haven't talked a ton about, People have talked about it, but I'm not sure we have really zoned in as much as we probably should have. And that is not about the kids, I must say this again, but in terms of why we were so poor in that competition. And frankly, if we believe that these players are going to inform the national team, because we will not be able to, we'll run out of, we may have overseas players, maybe more in the US, I think, historically, that we're going to have in the UK over time. During my lifetime, it may be UK, but I think after my lifetime, it's going to be more US, and we'll, I think, more long-term. But the JPL player, I'm calling it JPL. The locally born players will have to be able to compete at some point. We have to get there. It's the JFF's responsibility, because they run football across Jamaica, to make sure that the players who are locally born and locally reside are given the requisite coaching and support to enable them to compete at the highest level. That should be an imperative, and investment should be made in those players. I just want the best players to play. And if you have a pool of players where you're struggling to pick the players, that's the best thing ever. What you want is to have a pool of players whereby, you know what? You're agnostic, means you don't care where they're born, because you know you have them locally, overseas, and it's a ton of them, and you pick the best 60 and then the best 25, 23 to go to any tournament. But if you have much more in the island, which is 3 million versus England about 500,000, US probably have 1 million, then by numbers, just by playing numbers, Jamaica the locally born players should make up more of the squad than overseas born players who are naturalized. Just by the numbers. Now, Minzy will argue with me about, you probably hear me if you were on my channel yesterday, argue about, Jamaica track and field team overachieving because of the numbers and per capita number, even though I totally disagree with him. But per capita, Jamaica should be producing more of these players than producing England, producing US, producing Holland, everywhere else. Obviously, we know what some of the drawbacks are between resources, infrastructure, facilities, money, JFF support, whatever else. There's a lot of different factors. The more resources overseas, there are factors that inform as to why our players that are locally born are not able to compete with some of these players. But I think at some point that gap has to be narrowed. And the more players we have, the better it should be for us as a country to produce players at the highest level that we can pick from. So therefore, we can be held hostage by any one player who don't want to play, or any number of players who don't want to play, because we will have a multitude of players who are available to play for the national team. I think that's an imperative. Nitro saying, will the JFF support McLaren in his recruitment? The agreement was not supported. I don't know what that means. I'm not sure that's true, actually. Because even though you hear me and Rudolph argue about quotas, and even though I think there's some semblance of quotas in the senior team, I don't care what anybody tells me, I think there's much more latitude there to bring in the best players, right? And right now, I think the JFF don't care because they want to get to the World Cup. So they'll sacrifice to get to the World Cup. Whether they have quota or not, they'll sacrifice that because they want to get to the World Cup, right? They want to get to the World Cup. That's what they want to do. They don't care. So right now, that quota, even if it's a national team, but it's not specifically indicated, they're gonna make sure they tone that down to get the best players to play for the national team. That's what they want to do, which I'm all supportive of, because I don't believe in quotas, especially for all Jamaicans, right? So if that's the case, then I don't see why they would want to restrict Grimmy. Now, I think the problem was, as you hear Rudolph said, which is this. Rudolph believed they have much more stringent measures in place about how they manage their financial resources. And that proposal that Grimmy wanted to go to Europe, say he's doing recruiting. I'm going to put my spin on it, people. So nobody's told me this. This is my spin. Him go Europe, say about recruiting. I'm not sure they think he was doing recruiting. So they want to say, provide your receipt and get approval first before you go, and provide receipts when you go that you've done what you've agreed that you were going to be doing. I think that's checks and balances are important. And somebody shouldn't just fly off when they want to fly off and come back and say, boy, they weren't recruiting. And as Claudine tell me, because I actually would admit I didn't really know this, frankly. I thought Grimmy recruited players. Grimmy didn't recruit nobody. Players came in during Grimmy's regime because they were already being sourced, right? I thought Grimmy was a brilliant recruiter because I saw some players coming, and I was told some of this, and it wasn't necessarily correct in further due diligence, that Grimmy never recruited nobody. Grimmy was, I think, one of the best players, frankly, and that was without a doubt, but I'm not sure he actually landed anybody in his recruiting. I think McLaren, who lives in England, who's based in England, who's been at Man U, and him being at 12 clubs helped people. Because I was told way back when, and I've said in some previous program, I was told way back when that it was going to be McLaren. So I was told way back when that McLaren that the players in the team currently like McLaren and would like to have McLaren. Now, I'm not going to tell you who told me this, but it was a while back I was told this, way before the announcement was made. Whether or not that person gave me right information, I was just told this. I'm not sure, but McLaren has a ton of experience in, and I love coaches like McLaren who don't just want to stay in their backyard and coach. They go overseas, because most people in England, tell me how much coach in England go overseas and coach. Most of them don't. They ain't taking that risk. They're comfortable in their backyard. I love people who are going to explore things outside of their comfort zone and really enhance their experience and then bring it back home, which is what McLaren has done. So even though he jumps, I may beat him a little bit about jumping from job to job or he's been let go, at least he has a ton of experience. And if he leverages that experience, it'll work well for him. Now, I haven't gone through the list of things he's supposed to be doing because I have a long list. I just talked about the recruiting part. And my list here, I have 11 people you should recruit. And Lewis Baker is not on it. So that makes it 12. I think that's an imperative. And people, you can call in the people. The numbers here, you can call in. No, I did watch a U20 TikTok. And by the way, TikTok, all the English players, all the overseas players who did not play. My understanding was some of the English players, the only player that stand out was the English player who plays at, where did he play at? He was at Arsenal at one point. He's in a lower Plymouth. Where is it? No, he's not Plymouth. I forgot where he is, but he's not the best team. He's the only player that stand out for the entire team. But not all the overseas players started TikTok, right? And frankly, the list that I got of overseas players, which are about 14 TikTok, are at some of the best clubs in the world, frankly. Right? TikTok, who were not part of that team. Leighton Orient. Thank you, Issa. But he was at Arsenal. I was saying Leighton Orient is not the best team, but he was at Arsenal before they went to Leighton Orient because of family matters, is my understanding. I got some intelligence subsequently. I had the list of the 14 players TikTok. Most of the quality ones were not in the squad TikTok because of the quota. That's not debatable. Not care what anybody says, and I'm not listening. Anybody told me, I have all the data. Somebody sent everything to me, a lot of information, a lot of sequence of events, and a lot of players were not in the squad that should have been in the squad, frankly. Just given their pedigree. Now, will they have played well? I don't know. Will they have still won or lost? Don't know. But they weren't given the chance to be successful or to fail. Yes, it was Welsh. Yes, thanks a lot. No, I'm not saying he's Christopher Columbus, but Grimmy used us. I think Grimmy used us, actually. I think Grimmy, if half your resume is Jamaica, then I don't know about you, because he was only here for 2 years. And that was half his when I heard the Ireland conference, which I talked about, that was half his resume. His resume was Iceland and Jamaica. Somehow they skipped the other club teams that he managed, actually, which says a lot. J. Russ says, top of block players like Walter Peters and Nathan Redmond. Tell him Kranky. You know, Walter Peters is a brilliant. I'm telling you, people. If you bring him in, you'll see his ability. He's not the best defender when he play right back, but he and the ball are friends, and I love people with the ball as a friend who are friends with the ball. It says saying, Kranky, one of those players started for City, and the Community Shield is the name is Raleigh. Yeah, exactly. I think if people look at the list, people would be like, "What are we? Why would we not do this?" And this whole notion that the clubs didn't release the players, I've heard that only one player on that list, the club refused to refuse him, and he wasn't necessarily at the best club, to be frank. Now, what people have to understand is this: Jamaica is a hot commodity overseas nowadays, people. The country is a hot commodity. You talk about when you go to Paris the other day and the gear that people love. You see how our football gear sell out, our track and field gear look good. Jamaica is a hot commodity. What we're not doing is we're being a little bit parochial of trying to say Jamaica is this small little island, and we're not expanding our horizon and our perspective about what Jamaica entailed, and not leveraging, because all these young kids, you know, my son and I had a discussion. He wasn't born in Jamaica. He'd been to Jamaica a number of times. Discussion the other day. He's telling me how Jamaica is cool. Right? Jamaica is people want to be, especially when they're born in Jamaica. He and I argue every day. I told him stop trying to talk patois because he sounds funny. And he told me, well, you need to teach me because I want to talk it. Right? You got to teach me how to talk it because I want to talk it. Now, he understands it 100%. But when he speaks it, he sounds American. Even though he's saying the words right, they don't sound right. That's a lot of the kids' people. So why are we trying to deny them to that affiliation when some other countries like Israel bring them into their military, embrace them? Why are we trying to push them away and not bringing them in? Then they can't play for us when they're good enough. That's not the right way to approach this. Let us get better on the island, not the opposite, which makes no sense. Let's stop trying to be this. Let's get rid of this xenophobia, and we talk about this 101 times. Let's bring them in. So here Mr. JFF says, he said, I don't get involved with who's better than who. I watched Jamaica youth football for a very long time. And the locals have done better than diasporans in their football career. Oh, Lord. We can't talk to TikTok. TikTok. And Yakers 433 TikTok. We don't know what you're talking about. TikTok, we don't know what you're talking about. You're confusing me, TikTok, when you say these things. It's the same argument we hear TikTok from both the controversial boss and from Rudolph about them going overseas and how they compete with all these teams overseas. They go Aston Villa, they do this. And then when we go play in these competitions here, where we can see with our own eyes, we fail miserably. We lost to Cuba 3-0. We lost to Costa Rica. We got 9 from the US. Our young women's team just got slaughtered today. What are we talking about, TikTok? Our junior teams are not doing well. Stop providing this fallacy and this nonsense. Come on. We're seeing it. The numbers are saying that. 2 of our teams in 2 games got 20 love, 11 and 9. What are we talking about? Amazing how we can defend the indefensible. Kranky, the question now, can you talk it? What are you talking about? Float. Elaborate. Yeah, we're not supporting the kids who wants to. I'm telling you, all these kids when I live in Jamaica. The list that I had people from England, people from Holland, people from Germany, and one of the kid from Ajax, for example, the player of the year for Ajax, for example, the 17-year-old who wanted to be under 20 wasn't. You want to tell me that kid came to Jamaica would make a difference in that team? Because Ajax is one of the best grooming clubs in the world. Jamaican, 17, want to play for under 20, didn't get to the team. So when he now reached an age, he can play for Holland, decided to choose Holland versus Jamaica. What are we going to tell him? That he rejected us and we're upset? If you want them to play for your national team, then 17 is a good year to get them. 16, 17, 18, 19. They build affiliation, they build a sense of loyalty, and then they want to come to your national team. Not when they're 24, 23, and you want to go source them and England wants them and Ireland wants them and Germany wants them. That's not the right approach. That's not good thinking. That's poor thinking. That makes no sense. Then you're not being strategic. You're being tactical. You're just reacting to situation versus being long-term oriented and thinking about, you know what, how can I achieve an objective on a long-term basis, which has sustainability to it, and will allow me to go source players who want to be here and who want to come fight to be here. No, it's not about preparation. It's about coaching. No, sorry, I have the wrong one, but TikTok. No, TikTok. The under 20 team didn't lose because of preparation. I watched them play. So even if preparation is poor, TikTok, when you get the ball, you do something with the ball, TikTok. If you can't control the ball and can't pass the ball, they're going to do with preparation. It's about what you learn. That's muscle memory. If you're strategically poor, like we were in that 9-love game, whereby we're down 3-0 in the first, 20 minutes, and we still put on a bunch of attackers and running around like we are clueless, versus probably go low block and say, you know what, let's lessen the damage. That's preparation. That's strategic in the game. But if the way you play a ball, the way you beat a man, the way you pass a ball, the way you move the ball, got nothing to do with no preparation for the tournament. It has to do with how you were prepared as a player throughout your career. And we're confusing the two. So, Kranky, what's your thoughts on Maron Gordon still in the national setup as one of the assistant coaches? Look, I think local coaches, I'm not sure it should be Maron, should be part of the national setup. Let me say this again. I think at least 1 or 2 local coaches, whether they're actually coaching or they're learning, should be part of the setup. We should not have a situation. So you want to call it quota? So maybe I don't believe in quota of players, but I believe in quota of coaches because most of the coaches we have are not citizens of Jamaica, right? We hire hired guns and bring them in. We're not digging that citizens are right because there won't be citizens they're bringing in. We should have a couple of local coaches, part of the national setup. Now, they could be there as observers and learning. They may not have roles per se. They may not be the goalkeeper coach, right? They may not be the strategic person, but they should be part of the setup. Because how are they going to learn from some of the best? How are we going to transition them to be part of the national setup or be part of the local coaching fraternity if we don't give them that experience? Call it learning on the job. I don't think the footballer should be learning to be part of my national team unless you're playing in local competition like in the Caribbean and you can't get the overseas players, born players. But I think your national coaching setup should have some of your local coaches in that setup, one or two of them. I am totally supportive of that. I'm not sure you're going to allow them to get that experience if you don't give them that environment. Isn't that how Coley got his experience so he can go overseas and get his A license when he was part of what's his name set up? That's how you should do. And then what you should do is encourage, you should work, the JFF should identify the exceptional coaches at the more junior level. Bring them through the ranks, get them part of the national setup, have them find ways to get them overseas to go get jobs and work in different environments, and then hopefully they come back to Jamaica. Sometimes they don't, just like how people migrate. That should be part of the strategy, people. Build a relationship with Spain. I've been saying this 101 times. How much can I say it? And I said it 101 times. Spain won the Euro. They won the Euro. They won the Women's World Cup. They won the Under-19 in Europe. They won the Olympic. People, these are all different players, people. And the same players, You're talking about under 23 with 4 overage players for the Olympics people. They're winning everything. I've been preaching this for how long now? I've like a year now. And we don't build affiliation with Spain. We're trying to build a relationship with Belgium. Belgium has done exceptionally well over the years, but they're not winning nothing. They're not making the progress they should be making, even though they have brilliant players. We should be trying to figure out a way for the JFF to work to build a relationship with Spain. Someone shared with me Spain's strategic objective over the next 10 to 30 years. Amazing. We have to find a way to get some of that and leverage it. No, I can't answer all of these things. TikTok saying Kranky, most of the local players haven't played enough before the tournament. They weren't prepared. Kranky, check out the tours of trips, Mexico, US. Look, I'm not saying TikTok that preparation doesn't help, but I'm looking at the player's ability. There was one player specifically who played in the middle of the park. I'm not going to call his name, who is a known player. I was shocked at his performance. To me, that wasn't preparation. That was just how he played. Not calling his name, but I was shocked at his performance, especially given that in the setup he's been in. Right? If Walsh can show that he belonged, why couldn't that player show that he belonged? Lance Beck is saying, Vince Blaine takes credit for the xenophobic quota system, that retrograde thing in JFF. I'm sure that's continuing to use to discriminate legally against citizens of Jamaica. Yeah, I'm going to use all those words. That's the Blake. It's a mouthful, but quotas are wrong. It's not debatable. Quotas are wrong, and it shouldn't happen. Tennessee saying, DJ, see what is it? TikTok, the last few tournaments Jamaica playing show that was poor. Yeah, no. If you have access to players who can help you as a country, I'm not sure why you leverage those players. I'm not sure it even affect the national team, younger players, because if they're gonna go on, keep on failing, then you have to replace them, don't you? Isn't that like logical? Dre DJ is saying, Kranky, to be honest, a person want to learn or get themselves educated is not the responsibility. No, I understand that, Dre, but sometimes people need help in life. Trust me. That's why a lot of people have mentors, Dre. In the corporate environment, for example, a lot of people have mentors. And not only mentors, they have advocates. So a mentor may give you guidance. A mentor may give you counseling. A mentor will give you advice. An advocate is out there beating the drum for you. So advocates and mentors are important. So yes, but I think to me, it's the elite concept that the JFF has now, which they're leveraging from FIFA to do with players, they need to do the same thing for coaches too. So JFF, if you listen to me, I know something you don't like when I talk, you should think about that for coaches. Who are your elite coaches, especially the younger ones? Get them licensed, get them opportunities. It can only help the Highland, especially if they plan to stay there. Maybe you have a contract with them where they have to come back and coach for 3 years. They want to go someplace else. But you should do that. Yeah, DJ, but I mean, now it's now better than ever, isn't it? Under 8, maybe, because they have a system of play and philosophy, football and style of play, and it's working for them. And when I was getting pushback from a lot of people, I get pushback on this quite a bit from some people, some of the senior people, and I laugh at them because you should emulate success. You have to emulate what I call sustained success. People can have one-off success, and it's maybe an aberration or maybe bad luck. Sustained success is not by luck. Their strategy perform. Jamaica's achievement in athletics is not by luck. You start doing it from your baby through the ranks, and our coaches in Jamaica got better, and the more they got better, the more success started improving, and the volume started increasing. We need to have sustained success. Good evening. Who am I speaking to?
Tennessee, man. Tennessee, brother Kranky.
Bless up, Tennessee. How you doing? What do you have to say, Tennessee?
Yeah, no, me somebody I tell you say TikTok. I tell you the under 20 team preparation. You know, this under 20 team was more prepared than the last one where Dominican Republic beat.
Yeah.
You understand? So you Kranky, if you are playing a tournament and these supposed to be your best players we have in the country, they're at least supposed to can control the ball.
Yeah.
You understand? So people are trying to blame preparation now. So the preparation why they don't qualify. I wasn't expecting nothing from this team. From I saw this team was selected. Yeah, you understand?
Yeah.
So we can blame preparation. We can blame everything else. But preparation doesn't stop you from control the ball. You must learn that. And you can and that can be feel where you can control the ball.
Yeah.
You understand? This team was, I believe, the coach was. I don't rate the coach specifically, and sometimes I think people are gonna say, well, you know, them because I hear people was calling for Jerome Wade and what's next, Lenny Hyde to coach the senior team.
Right.
So sometimes when certain things happen, Kranky, I don't even take it too hard because I sometimes you have to give a man something for making sure of himself. Because before the tournament, everybody was saying, oh, Jerome Wade take a team for 1 week and then almost qualify, then lose out by goal difference to Mexico.
Right.
But that was 5 years ago, Kranky. Football has changed since then. You can't do the same thing what you were doing 5 years ago. No.
Yeah.
See? So people can blame all kind of preparation and things. Kranky, I just believe the team wasn't good. The team wasn't good enough.
Okay.
You understand?
Yeah.
So I hope this teach them a lesson and realize that we need better players.
Well, I think the lesson should be we need to improve the coaching to improve the players.
Of course. 100%. All right, Kranky, big up yourself.
Yeah, man. I appreciate the call, Tennessee. Appreciate the call.
TikTok, I blame preparation and all kind of things.
Well, you know, TikTok.
You can't blame preparation.
TikTok will defend the JFF to the end of his life. You know, TikTok. Steve.
All right, Kranky, big up yourself.
Yeah, man. Bless up. Our Tennessee people. Tennessee is basically saying, I'm gonna put her words in his mouth. Disagree with TikTok. It's about the players and how they played. It's less about the concept of preparation. Claudine saying, Kranky, a quality football, if you wake him up midnight and place him in adverse conditions, will adapt and show how they belong. Not all the time, Claudine, but I would agree with you. At least you'll see some elements of their capabilities when they're playing over a 3-game period, right? Especially, let's say you play against the U.S. You didn't play well because they're just a dominant team. But you played Cuba and Costa Rica. You didn't look any better in those games than you did in the U.S. game. So people may say they played better. I didn't really see it. Competition was less. Bless up, Dwight. Thanks for joining. Yeah, Lansley, the number is running across the bottom of the screen, so you can call in. So Omar saying, Kranky, since these track coaches have to work for credentials and not have anything given to the show their drive and work. Yeah, but Omar, we sometimes do the analogy, which I sometimes am guilty of, between the disciplines, between the different sporting events. And we probably should in some instances. Some sporting events need more than others, right? Jamaica has been good in track and field since the 40s, when they probably didn't have a ton of good coaches because of natural ability. And it's evolved over time where we're now gotten really good coaches, and kids don't have to go to the US to get coached well or to even advance in their careers, right? We have a lot of camps in Jamaica, organizations in Jamaica to help them. And yes, I think people like Frano, and a friend of mine went to school with Frano, was telling me how brilliant Frano was and how he thinks deductively to allow him to reach where he reached. So sometimes you need those people to skill, and he's get himself to where he needs to by learning the sport, learning the human body and how it works, right? Understand that. But if you can provide assistance because you're trying to improve the football holistically, you got to think about where best can I get the best bang for my buck? How can I help the football? And if you can improve the coaching, look, Spain having the most UEFA A licensed coaches or pro licensed coaches wasn't by chance, you know. It's a country strategic. It's a strategic by the administration to do so, because the more qualified the coaches are, the better they be able to improve the footballers. That's why they have 3 times as more pro licensed coaches than any other country on earth, frankly, right? And it shows up in their outcome. Because Spain wasn't always, before 2010, what was Spain winning? Think before 2010, what was Spain winning? Real Madrid may win, but it wasn't Real Madrid just players. It was a bunch of other players, because they're a all-star team. Yes, Barcelona had players, but a lot of Barcelona players also came from overseas. You look before 2010, and it was even before 2010, but look, subsequent to 2000, where Spain has gone, and the strategy they've employed, and the outcome that they've received. So I think that's how we got to think about, which is, how can we change the football to get us to a better place? Yes, this is a Florida call. Good evening. Who am I speaking to?
Good evening. This is Lansley Blake.
Good evening, Lansley.
And yes, my number is a Florida number, but
I'm not. I don't know where in Florida. But...
I'm in North Carolina.
Okay. Well, I know a lot of Floridians are running away from Florida now, between hurricane and insurance and property taxes.
I'm not a Floridian. I'm a Jamaican spending time in the United States of America.
You look like permanent time to me, but go ahead. Go. Because we said something about Jamaica. When I first came to America, my view was, you know what? I come here, finish the education thing, and go back to Jamaica. I've been here a long time. That's all I'll say about that.
Kranky, that has been the experience of many Jamaicans, and that is why I take serious, if not offense, issue with persons who believe that the diaspora is in any way shrinking. So I am here longer than I initially had planned to be here, but I am here. And I will be here for a little while longer yet before
Oh, no, I know who this is. No.
Yes, Lansley Blake is pastor.
I'm like, this voice sounds good evening, pastor. Good evening. Sounds so familiar.
Yes.
Okay.
You see, pastor is an acquired title or a calling to pastoral duties.
You know what?
Blake is my name.
We're gonna have a dialogue one day with you and the not in football, not in sports, outside of sports. I want to have that dialogue and debate one day. But keep going. About religion and all that other good stuff.
No, Kranky, we can debate religion, but I want to let everybody. I don't debate Bible.
No, I mean, no. The Bible's a good book.
So we can debate religion.
The Bible's a good book. We can debate religion. The Bible's a good book.
Yeah.
Just not a chemistry book. I'm an accounting book. It's a good book. But anyway, keep going.
Yeah. So the reason I called in is because this argument continues to float. And despite the argument that Jamaican-born players are equivalent to their age group of other countries, and we're talking pure football, that is a lie, no matter which way we take it. Some of the same persons who articulate that we do not have coaches or sufficient coaches with the requisite acumen to impart information that will develop these players tell the same lie. Now, football, while God gives us different gifts and athletic abilities, football is an acquired skill. You learn different things, and your gift would be brought out in how fast you learn it or how far you can go in it. So that might help to determine whether it was a gift or not. Athleticism is also a gift that we get from God. You have persons who are more what they call brainiacs. They excel in academics in different disciplines. The same way in sports. Having said that, if our coaches are not developed to where they can compete on the international stage, where do we get the impression from that those said underdeveloped coaches are going to be able to adequately develop players for the international stage? Jamaican track coaches can get jobs internationally. Jamaican track coaches are being sought after by international athletes. Hence, we have a plethora of non-Jamaican nationals coached by Jamaican coaches in Jamaica. No, the same does not translate to football. And the reason it does not translate to football is that Jamaica has neither a football culture nor a system that attracts the world's interests. We are not at that level, plain and simple. We do not have it. We don't have the coaches. Apparently, we do not even have the football business administrators to carry a professionally run program, because we are struggling from the top down to the ground, the bottom of the barrel rest on. Every single cycle, from the administrative level, we're met with minuscule dwarf mentality, infringements and distractions that have no bearing in administration at all. And these are all men who have business management experience, accounting qualifications. They have all the requisite academic lettering behind their names. But as it relates to football, the management thereof, they're all failures. And if you look at the recently held election, the persons that were running against them is no better. So we are stuck. And this need not be a conundrum, Kranky. We don't have it. We need to accept that reality. And go until we accept that, we're not going to go out and get it, And that is why no Jamaican coach, administrator, or let me not say no. That is why more Jamaican coaches or administrators will not take up their money and invest in their own personal development, because they do not accept the fact that we don't have it. Until the track coaches realize that they don't have it, they didn't go out and get it. But that realization, look at the fruit it has borne Jamaica. Jamaica have several reputable track clubs, including those new ones that are less than 5 years old, because they have all churned out athletes that compete and make a mark on the international stage. And gold medal is not the benchmark for doing well on the international stage. If you can qualify out of 208 recognized countries at the Olympics, an athlete to the Olympics, because you don't have 208 athletes turning up for any discipline at the Olympics. So if you can get to the international stage where you're competing with the international cohorts, you have achieved success. Jamaica has been doing more than that for years.
So, question for you, Pastor. Question for you. Athletics. I have to get your point on this before you go further. Do you think we have overachieved in athletics per capita compared to the rest of the world?
Yes.
Okay.
Significantly.
Well, okay. So those of you who were here yesterday, I rest my case. Keep going, Pastor. Keep going.
Once you said per capita, Kranky, once you said per capita,
yes.
Jamaica has no business in the finals, which is an 8-athlete event. At any Olympics, when we're not in the top 50 largest countries in the world. Once you say per capita, if you put the total Jamaica together, diaspora and everything, you have what? Close to 10 million people?
No, it's not that much. I would say probably 6 million people.
No, we have more than 6 because the diaspora is bigger than the country.
Well, the country has been having 2.9 million for the last 20 years, hasn't it?
No.
No, but I'm just saying. So then I think the double is
even if you plus what they say, because still in Jamaica a lot of persons are not getting remunerated.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
The thing is, even if you plus it to 3.5, the diaspora has more than 3.5 million people.
That's possible. Not possible. It depends on how you want to define the diaspora, which I think is a very interesting question. So, for example, would you call Kamala Harris
other country in the world where Jamaican
but here's a question for you though.
Heritage reside.
Yeah, but here's a question for you. Is okay, so you're saying Kamala Harris and Gabby Thomas then would be Jamaicans?
Of course they are Jamaicans.
Okay, that's how you define it. I'm going to make sure we're clear in the definition, right?
Yeah.
My definition would be more of citizens per se.
Representing USA for all her career did not denounce her.
No, I understand. Okay. All right, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah. So having said that, Jamaica have been punching against its weight for years, and that is why I had the conversation with JD when he decided to say that Jamaica was not good in the 90s. I literally was offended because we were doing well after the Herb McKinley and Roden era within the 51s. Jamaica has been doing very well from the early 80s.
That's true. Even mid 70s with Quarry, not a ton of people, but Quarry won 200 and second in 100, right? 76.
And second in 100.
Yeah.
Even in the mid 70s, Jamaica has been punching above its size. From then, we were doing good. We didn't have the exceptional period between 2008 and 2017 or 2008 and 2024 because the females continued when the males dropped off after both left. So as far as I'm concerned, we have been doing very well. Much better than our size suggests we should be doing. So per capita, we're way above our grade. Having said that though, Kranky, the reason we continue to disintegrate is because the administration has not evolved, has not learned, has not improved. And so the policies they employ has nothing to do with growth and development. And that is an issue. Where the leader lacks vision, the people perish.
Right.
It is not in the Bible just by chance. The people perish. So until the JFF realize that we don't have what it takes to compete at the international stage, put in place policies, make every effort necessary to get us to equate on the international stage, we're not going anywhere but down. And if you think it is bad now, wait until 5 years from now if we do not stop this nonsense.
So, Pastor,
Pastor, you're going to have people in the diaspora turned off from the system. So what we could get from them, we are no longer going to be getting.
So, Pastor, 1 second. Someone from the JFF is saying, he said, Pastor, hang up. Apples and oranges comparisons. Track and field coaching don't have a universal standard. Football does. No track and field coach has to pay $30,000 to get a pro license. Well, 30,000, is that Jamaican or 30,000?
Kranky,
Yeah.
tell that administrator to take his head from out of you know where. Every single coach in the world goes to school. Who pays their school fee? Who pays their school fee? They believe that
No,
intelligence resides with them.
He's saying track and field coaches get it by osmosis. It just occurs.
Hello, the track and field coaches are caterpillars. Who pays their school fee? Don't they all go through a system where they get educated?
Yeah.
The information is out there, scientifically proven fact. If you as a leader, by the way, I don't even have to go science. As a pastor, the spiritual level of the congregants does not rise higher than that of the leader. And that's Bible. This rubbish need to stop, and it is people like that administrator that is crippling Jamaica's football.
He says he's not an administrator, but he is. We know he is. He's saying JFF can't afford to put everything in place. The youth need good services. No one is saying that, but what we're saying is that I don't see where there's an initiative being undertaken.
Who said the JFF needed to do anything since I'm on this call?
You're just talking about
said the JFF need to do anything.
Yeah.
Mr. Ricketts is the president. Mr. Ricketts should ensure that his personal development as the leader matches that of the international standard. This rubbish that they continue to talk about, we are Jamaicans and we have an authentic brand. Yes, that's true. But Patois, as a dialect, is not an internationally accepted language. So if you're going to communicate effectively on the international stage, Mr. Ricketts, you must become au fait, conversant, and learned in the art of communication that is accepted across the entire globe. No excuses. Sidney Poitier left Bahamas to the United States of America, and got the shock of his life. But the biography that I watched of Sidney Poitier, he went on the top of one of the high rise, sleeping on the newspaper with a transistor radio, learning BBC pronunciation, BBC English, self-taught. But guess what? It was needed to get the job he wanted. This excuse that we get from our administrators, it gets tired and outworn. Jamaica was considered once one of the 4 education centers in the Western Hemisphere. Today, Jamaica is embracing dunce badness. It is a disgrace. It is sickening.
But Pastor, wouldn't you say though that part of the challenge that not only Jamaica face but the Caribbean face is the drain of intellectual capital in that region, where that capital is being sourced by the industrialized countries, right, to help with their societies at the expense of those countries?
Kranky, for that, I'm going to reference an interview with the Barbados Prime Minister when she had to drape up one journalist that sought to disparage Jamaica and countries of the Caribbean with that same, going down that same line. It cannot be excluded that countries of the Caribbean has suffered from brain drain. People wanting greater opportunities and going to, watch this, away from the World War II persons who went to war to join with like the British fleet and those places. People who left Jamaica either ran away because of situations where they live, or they left to get better opportunities. Why aren't our football administrators and coaches looking better opportunities by upgrading themselves? It's the same thing, Kranky. People don't just get up and travel. Jamaicans don't have money to just get up and travel for the sake of travel. Even when they travel on vacation visa, since this is known, I can say it. Even when they travel on vacation visa, they try to get 2 days work in America, England, anywhere they can get it, so that they offset the financial strain of their fear. Sometimes I borrow money by the ticket. Sometimes somebody just give them a free trip. So then try get and the abuse that they have to go through, because some of the persons over here know the value of the Jamaican dollar and then calculate out the value and abuse the people and the work that they should be paid thousands of dollars for, them pay them like $200 for. That is all for better opportunity. Kranky, it is distasteful to hear so-called educated persons in administration, in Jamaican football, or in Jamaica at large talk these rubbish as though the rest of the world have no intelligence and know nothing. Jamaica is the only place on earth. It is rubbish. And they are never going to achieve success until they realize they do not have what it takes and go get what it takes.
So here's what's interesting, Pastor, and I think if you read some of whether it's the policies put in place by different bodies in Jamaica, they have done a very good job of restricting or preventing persons in diaspora of assuming positions in Jamaica. So, for example, the JFF had like a 10-year rule. So if you were living in America, say all your life, you want to come back to Jamaica and help the JFF, you've been there for 5 years, it doesn't work. You've been there 10 years on the ground to assume certain positions. So they've set it up whereby it's an elitist construct, whereby they will always have these positions because it's going to be a limited amount of people who are going to want to be pursuing some of these opportunities. They've set it up where they're almost like people in those roles for life, because they're excluding a lot of people based on the policies and construct they have in place who would be able to pursue some of those positions in different parts of their organizations, which I find a little bit distasteful and not okay, because these people who have migrated and want to go back are citizens, or if they get naturalized, they're citizens. And I'm not saying you shouldn't have a period of residency to assume certain position, but 10 years? Really? Doesn't make sense to me.
Kranky, the first issue I took with the JFF, and this is my failure, I am yet to read the full constitution, the new one that FIFA advised. That is a failure on my part. I need to get it. The first thing I became critical of the administration about, Captain Horace Burrell initiated the ambassador position for Marley. The JFF, in rewriting the constitution, did not make the ambassador, despite the success of the position, did not make the ambassador position a constitutional position. That is a failure on the part of the administrators to not model and implement successful programs. You spoke to it about the Spain model that it is your belief that we would do well to copy. That is the biggest failure of the administrators, because the only success that the Jamaica Football Federation has to talk about is the success of the senior women team. The only international success that they have to talk about. And that was by and large achieved by the interest, effort, and blood, sweat, and tears of the ambassador for the female team. But the ambassador position is not a constitutional position in the new constitution that the JFF developed. They don't want to have anything to do with success. But as you have pointed out, there are positions taken, constitutionalized to deprive others of opportunity that could benefit them, just to secure themselves, their failing selves in our position. It is no different than the lifetime appointment of the United States Supreme Court judges. That is what that 10-year thing that they have actually achieved. Lifetime achievement for JFF administrators.
Yep.
Despite the destruction, the heartbreak, I heard JD this morning on one of the programs said some of the persons who were commenting along the same line, giving him blood pressure. Yes. But this is our reality. You know, I have this practice where I just read the Bible for reading's sake, not just when I'm studying a particular thing. I just read it. I'm presently reading in the book of Jeremiah. If the position that the JFF continues to continue with McLaren, this is what is going to be the result. Jeremiah chapter 8 and verse 20. The harvest is past and the summer is ended and we are not saved. The World Cup qualifications will be done. And when the teams announce for the World Cup, Jamaica is not qualified. These practices is going to deprive us of World Cup 2026. And I am saying it on the authority of the word of God. When you deviate from truth, when you discriminate against right, when you normalize failure, mediocrity, and destruction ending behavior, this is going to be the result. I agree, like you, Kranky, that there should be some allowance given to Jamaican coaches to learn from these top-level coaches that we bring in. They should not be named no assistant coach, is where I deviate from what you stated. They should not be named no assistant coach. That way, the coach is not expected to take no advice from them.
No, Pastor. I never said she be named assistant coach. No, I said she be part of the program.
You never said that.
Yeah.
I am making it clear that as long as they're assistant coaches,
right,
an adjunct professor or a lecturer that has not attained professor status gives information and instruction when the faculty meets. The assistant coach title affords him the right to give advice to the coach. The coach must take it. But we know the Jamaica that we were born in. We are a pressure people. And when you bring the culture to bear, this destructive culture, because Jamaica don't have a football culture. We have a culture in football in Jamaica of destruction. That's all we have.
So, Pastor,
discrimination
Pastor,
is not
are you saying that
illegal? It is sinful.
No, I agree on discrimination, Pastor, and I've had some difficult conversation with some people about discrimination. I've pointed out to them where their discrimination is contrary to their own constitution, and they still don't want to change it. So I'm going to think about trying other measures, because I don't think that you should be allowed to do something which is illegal and unconstitutional, whether it's in the Jamaica Constitution, which I've read out in a previous program on another channel, and clearly articulate where the conflict resides between the Jamaica Constitution about citizenship and what the JFF is doing is illegal and discriminatory. That is not debatable. Somehow trying to do something for a better good doesn't make it right, because two wrong doesn't make something right, right? I understand what they're trying to achieve, but they're going about the wrong way to do it. They need to make sure because even if they're doing it the way they're doing it, it's still not helping, as we saw with the under 20. In fact, it's exacerbating the problem. Right? It's exacerbating the problem. So, Pastor, we're almost at the end, Pastor, and I appreciate the call.
Yes, sir.
Welcome your call, and it's a single day. And thanks a lot for calling. And I can understand why you left Florida to go to North Carolina. By the way, people, a lot of us are moving to North Carolina now. Not us. I haven't gone there, but I'm saying Jamaicans. I'm saying, because I'm still in New York. A lot of Jamaicans. I just thought they were going to Georgia and then get drop off in South Carolina. I didn't want to go Myrtle Beach. No. A lot of Jamaicans are in North Carolina.
Myrtle Beach is actually in South Carolina.
That's what I'm saying. They drop off and they stop because Georgia besides South Carolina. So I thought they were going there and then maybe stop at Myrtle Beach for them go Georgia. No. They're stopping in the Carolinas in bunches in North Carolina, not even South. Okay, no? A ton of them. Wait, no, and a lot went before, just about or during COVID. So they get the house prices at a decent price. They're not like other people want to go there now where they can't buy houses because prices have doubled. But appreciate the call, Pastor.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thanks a lot. Have a good evening.
Same to you.
All right. So that was Pastor, people, Mr. Langsley, expressing his perspective, which, as you can see, TikTok is totally opposite to TikTok not having it. Hey, TikTok, at some point you have to tell us who you are in a TikTok. We know you're part of the JFF TikTok. I can actually almost bet my life on that. We know you're part of the JFF, even though I don't want to lose my life. That is not yet anyway. But TikTok, I don't see how you can justify certain things or even argue for certain things, TikTok. I don't see it. It's hard for me to understand TikTok, how you argue for certain things, and how you can justify certain things, TikTok. Don't make any sense to me. No sense at all. Because what Pastor is basically saying is that, I'm going to summarize it. If you want to do well in life, you have to take the initiative to do well. And you have to take the risk to do well. Because a lot of things are risk, you know. We're in our comfort zone. We don't want to change from what we're doing. We like to be doing what we're doing. But to invest in yourself is a risk, because if it doesn't succeed, you're going to lose the money. That's the only way you're going to improve. So, Sherman Sepa says, I don't think he's always negative. I think he brings a perspective which some may differ with. You guys can't always have it the same way. You can't say 433 is always negative and then Pastor is always negative when they're bringing reasoning to the argument. If you dispute, then provide your reasoning. Why your reasoning is basically saying that what Pastor is saying doesn't stand up to scrutiny, right? I don't think it's being negative. I think it's providing a perspective which sometimes is hard to digest. DC saying the Reggae Girls rank has dropped in the last year. That's not improvement to me. Yeah, the whole Reggae Girls JFF situation, I think both parties were wrong in that. Actually, I got beaten for saying that, but I think both parties were wrong. And by the way, it didn't help the girls and didn't help the JFF. Keep saying it's TikTok speed. I don't know who TikTok is, but TikTok is in the JFF. You cannot convince me otherwise. TikTok is in the JFF. Now, look, I almost say this before we close the program, which is this, because I didn't even bring out the I'll do this another day. The things I think McLaren needs to make sure he has in place. I just thought of recruiting was just the first thing. We stopped at recruiting, and I'm not gonna go much longer than 2 hours because I do have some stuff to do. But I'll say this, and that was kind of long actually. It says, "Hey, Krank, And the presser is bringing the facts about the coach, but you still know it's bringing their facts. They just want to pressure to shut up and don't. Yeah, I don't think it's fair to 433 to say he's XYZ. He brought his perspective. And by the way, he has stats to substantiate his position. Right? And we all can. I don't necessarily agree with something 433 says, because I mean he's saying he got fired from a number of jobs. He did, but Marino got fired for a number of jobs. Most coaches who don't have jobs or who change jobs got fired. A lot of, I shouldn't say most, a lot of them got fired. Right? I mean, how many times did Lampard get fired and still getting jobs? For like when the Everton went back to Chelsea, was at Chelsea when Everton went to Chelsea, and he ain't achieved nothing, and he's still getting positions. Some people are just, it's just that way, right? So 423 have a opinion. Here's the thing, people. We can debate the perspectives, and we can all then decide whether or not we think one is better than the others. But we should just disregard somebody because their perspective is different from ours, right? Unless it's just totally way out left field and just not logical. What 433 says is logical. You may not agree with it. You may have a different opinion, and that's fine. And what Pastor brings to the table is a lot of experience, a lot of knowledge, a lot of history, and it's logical. You may not agree because you may say, you know what is always tinker with being appears to be more negative. That's your perspective. His view is I've seen it, I've reviewed it, assessed it, and frankly, I don't agree with it. So TikTok is back. I asked TikTok, I'm amazed at some of your arguments too, Kranky. You don't have first-hand information, but always put the JFF down. My cousin was a tank commander in the army, killed for such arguments. I'm always putting the JFF down, TikTok. Really? Really? I am calling out. See, that's the thing, people. When somebody say you're negative and you call them out facts, I was the one TikTok who got beaten about defending JFF when it comes to the girls. I said the girls were wrong in the approach they take. Wasn't that me, TikTok? So you think TikTok realizes people TikTok. When you support their argument, they're all for you. When you don't support their argument and you have facts to back it up or persuasive argument, they say you're negative. That's why I'm not knocking 433. Because he provide perspective, which, you can say, that makes sense. Do you agree with it? You don't have to agree with it. Him view about the coach every time he was fired. McLaren was fired a lot of times. He was fired a lot of times. Even when he went Derby, when you move people upstairs, that means somebody say, you know what? You can't coach a team anymore. You got to do something else. Here's the thing, TikTok. When we didn't review Donaldson's contract, we say, oh, he wasn't fired. Did Donaldson say he didn't want to be coach again anymore? Or is that a default for when we got rid of Wall the other day, saying he should be with the national team because he has duplicate responsibilities and he can't do two places as one? That's disingenuous. TikTok, that's disingenuous. I don't care what you want to tell me. It's disingenuous. He wasn't going to acquiesce to the local players being in the team. He wanted overseas players. He said it, and he was moved out. It happens in life. People do that. But don't tell me that I'm being totally negative to JFF. If I say Wall was fired and you telling me he was reassigned, we have different terms for it. He was reassigned because he wanted overseas players, and he said it more than once, and he got reassigned. So, people, you see that comment by TikTok? It's laughable. The girls were the only issue we were sensitive about. But I got beaten TikTok beaten upside the head about this. So if I'm on the JFF side, it's sensible. But if I'm not, it's not sensible. Our way of reasoning is just bad. Good evening. Who am I speaking to?
Yeah, this is Issa, Kranky.
Hey, Issa, how you doing?
I know you're planning to wrap up. I'm doing good, you all right?
Yeah, man, I'm good. Glad to hear from you.
Yeah, man. What I wanted to say, I spoke about this too earlier today on management show. The thing is, Persa is bringing, what he has gone and looked at, and people are saying that he's bringing it on multiple platforms. My issue is, where are the people who have all the good stuff to say about the coach? Where are they? If Persa comes and that is his opinion based on what he has seen, that's okay. So all the other people now who think that there are a lot of good things about the coach and his hiring, come out and speak. The fact is, it's that the narrative that Persa is quote unquote putting out, they call it a narrative. His narrative is the one that permeate in the space. So where are the people now who knows about the things that the coach has done good? Why are they not speaking up?
Issa, that's a brilliant point. Absolutely brilliant point. People,
You know?
TikTok, when you respond to that TikTok, because you always respond to enough things. And by the way, TikTok, look at that comment on the screen to TikTok. Brilliant point, Issa. Brilliant point. Brilliant
You know?
point.
So
Brilliant
that's
point.
just my question.
Yeah.
Because everywhere I go, I'm hearing Presser's narrative. But
Yeah.
I'm not hearing anybody speak about the quote unquote the things that are good about the hiring and everything.
Right.
You understand? So I really cannot understand the blowback that Presser is getting. Because a lot of people are going for him, but I can't understand it. You know, if there are a lot of good things, where are the people to speak about it? That's just my take on that right now. All right.
Yeah. Thanks a lot. So I think Issa makes a wonderful point, people, which is when you take a coach on his resume, right, and you assess him, it's going to be based on outcome and performance. Tonight, I actually gave him the benefit of the doubt because I didn't just use the winning percentage of 44% as my criteria to judge him. I say his losses was 37%, right? What Issa is saying, Presser has done his analysis, done his assessment, done his due diligence, and said, when I look at all of this, he's been fired a number of times. I'm not necessarily so I'm supportive. I'm going to summarize what he's saying. People in beating Presser say it's all negative. But why don't you come back with a counter argument to say, here's where he's being successful, and here's how I can negate Presser's point. That's how you debate, people. The way we like to debate is what TikTok does. Go here. You're an idiot. You're a fool. You know nonsense. Get him off of the phone. And TikTok is not a dumb person. But TikTok is part of JFF. And that's how the JFF operates sometimes. Now TikTok, look at the thing on the screen, TikTok. Someone recalled me saying, the Raymond's team can't do this. We got to keep the team that's in place, TikTok. I don't hear you mention that TikTok. He said I'm always negative about JFF. Even though I probably was a bit less off two evil. So let me be negative on that. But it was part of, is it left hand and right hand TikTok? You know much beating I got TikTok when I support the JFF in anything that they do? I get beaten. You know why TikTok? Because they've done so many things, but they're not what it's supposed to be. Even more recently, TikTok, they've come out to bring the coach and talk about the coach and bring the coach to the general populace. And they have postponed coming out when things are adverse around the under 20. When they should come out and have discussion with the fan base to say, this is not acceptable. We know something is wrong. We're doing an assessment. We'll come back to you. XYZ, silence. How is that leadership, TikTok? How is that taking the pressure when the pressure is on? You should take the pressure. How is that accountability, TikTok? You're one-dimensional, TikTok. And you're part of JFF, TikTok. You're one-dimensional. That's how you operate. When the chips are down and you're under pressure, nowhere to be seen. You beat your chest when other things are there, but you're not around to be seen. That's not leadership, TikTok. Been there, done that. When I used to lead in corporate environment, TikTok, when something goes wrong, I'm the first person to put my hand up, says me, even though it's my team sometimes. And you know what, TikTok, the worst thing about it? They love you for it, TikTok. When you take accountability, even though they're wrong and you're the leader, they love you for it. They want to go to war with you. They want to be around you. They want to engage you. They will do anything for you. They're loyal to you. JFF hasn't learned that. TikTok has not learned that. No, the person is saying they may not be supportive of the hire TikTok. You hire somebody TikTok. Somebody say I'm not supportive of the hire. The person doesn't work for you. The person don't work for you TikTok. They're an independent party. They're independent third party. Good evening, Peter. How are you doing?
Fair to find, man. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. Where you beat me about now? Okay, you love beat me now. Where you beat me about now?
No. I don't beat you. It's funny, when I call, greetings to everybody, by the way, and yourself.
Okay.
When I call these platforms, it's always saying that I need to call when I have it's always that when I'm calling these platforms is because I have a rebuttal or I have to clarify something. I've never really called the platform to say, let me just have a conversation. So, like today, right, I called management platform because of 433 press. And I was planning just to listen, to listen to you. And I heard Issa just now. And I just say, you know what, let me just listen. I don't need to call every time. But somehow I can't help it. So the reason why, and this is to address Issa.
Right.
Issa, it's a brilliant point, like you say. But the reason why Presser's narrative is permeating the space is because Presser is permeating the space with his narrative, right? Presser has been on all of these platforms. Now, before I go there, do you think, Kranky, that Manning's man have done a good or a decent job with being the team manager?
So I'm gonna answer it two ways. I normally say I don't want to talk about people I know in this forum, but I'll say this just the one time because I try to stay away from those discussions. Since he's been in the program, because I can't determine if he's done a good job or a bad job. But the noise we used to hear, the negative noise, we have been hearing that negative noise. I'll put it that way. One can then draw a conclusion, right? I can't say if he's good or a bad job because I'm not there to do the assessment. But since he's been in the role, I haven't heard the same negativity I've heard coming out of the players that I heard before. They have to make determination whether they're doing a good job or not. I don't know.
Agreed. So here's my point. When management was given that role, there was a certain person who I won't call names on your platform that was permeating the space saying management wasn't qualified.
Right.
I happened to call in one day when that person was on a platform. And my question to him was, what is your agenda with management? And he couldn't answer me. Come to find out, just recently, on a certain radio program, a daily radio show that I listened to, that this person had a serious gripe with the JFL.
Okay.
And so then, that answered my question about the agenda, because I couldn't understand why this person was going around saying, management not qualified. Why is he being given this job? How come he get the team manager job? And the person just kept going on every other platform.
So here's a question,
And
Peter. Did the person say what the criteria is to be a manager? Did they think about what the specifications are? What the requirements
they couldn't say that. No, they couldn't say that. They didn't. Exactly. And that's why I say when I called and confronted that person on a platform, they couldn't tell me, right?
Okay.
And anyway, so we fast forward to today, and we have Presser. Now, I'm not saying that I just can't understand it, because it's one thing when you have an opinion about something, is another thing when you just want to push a narrative. Presser is on every platform, and he's the first caller on every platform. He was the first caller on management platform today, right?
Right.
And he also has his own platform that even him and his co-hosts get into it over the same thing, because all he does is bring out the narrative that the coach has been fired 8 times. He was on JD's show yesterday saying the same thing, and JD said, well, look, man, you know JD.
Yeah.
JD is not one to be biased about anything, right?
Yeah.
If he's going to be biased, it's probably going to be the other way around, right? To sometimes, but so JD said, no, you can't say that. You have to look into what took place at Newcastle, what took place here, what took place there. And so, listen, I'm not a person who's affair with coaches and the Premier League and all of that, because even today when Presser asked, was trying to counter what I was telling him he was doing, he asked me what club I support, as if that was going to make a difference. I don't have no club, because my club is the Reggae Boyz. So I don't even know what even goes on in the Premier League other than from you guys or from watching highlights. I don't have time, right? I'm calling you, I'm still working.
Right.
I can work while I talk, right? So I it's a different thing when you have an opinion and you say, because here's what I'm getting at. He said, oh, I'm just a fan just asking a question. He goes on every channel, he pushed the negative, and then he said, oh, I'm just asking a question. It's almost like he has an agenda. Now, somebody said that he is bitter because Ole didn't get the job. I don't know how you could be bitter because one person didn't get a job that you don't even know this person. This person probably not, wouldn't have a conversation with this person. Why would you be bitter?
So Peter, Issa is saying, what is good about the coach? So interesting.
No, I do. I can't listen. The only thing I can tell you is, I just said I am not au fait with all of these things. The only thing I can tell you is, I am hearing a negative. And before the coach even called his first squad, we need to give the coach a clean slate. Now, I've heard from you guys that the coach had won the Dutch League and some other accolades.
Yeah, he won League Cup with Middlesbrough in 2004, I think. He won League Cup, yeah.
Correct. I have a friend who's a lifelong friend. I said this today. We you know, I was the best man at his wedding. He was best man at my wedding. We talk almost on a daily basis. He is a very astute person when it comes on to the game. We have discussions all the time, especially about Jamaica. But he watches a lot of football and a lot of Premier League. He's a lifelong Manchester United fan. He is happy about the inclusion of Steve McClaren into the Reggae Boyz setup. He's almost elated. So I don't know why. And I was listening to a UK, a ESPN UK vlog, and it was 3 people on it: a black lady with Jamaican heritage and 2 other guys. I don't know the name of the show. I just watched it the one time because it came across. Somebody must have sent it to me. And I watched it, and they were all saying, how was Jamaica able to pull this off? What they were basically saying, this is a good acquisition by the GFF. Also, what we have heard, and I think I heard that on that same platform that day, is that Nigeria had $2 million on the table for Steve McClaren. So just like you say that he has been fired, you just said, I like to know, Kranky, that he had also been hired every time. That means there's something about the man that people want to hire him. Right. Also, what you just highlighted about Donaldson and who else? Donaldson and somebody else.
And John Wall.
And John Wall. Did they fail? They got fired, right?
Right.
Did they get fired?
Yeah. Well, they'll tell you that Donaldson contract was not reviewed and John Wall got reassigned.
Okay.
Euphemism for getting fired, in my view.
All right. But couldn't that be the same in some of these cases where we're saying Steve McClaren got fired? It could be a case where Steve and his bosses sat down after a year and he said, I need X amount more. And they could say, well, we can't give X amount more. And they separate and they call it a sack or a firing. It could be anything. My point is, give the coach a chance to at least coach his first game before we go around on all these platforms and spread this negative narrative. It's almost like Pressa have an agenda. And that's all I am saying. That's the reason why his narrative, the reason why his narrative is permeating the space, because he has been permeating the space with his narrative.
All right. Okay.
I don't know if you have anything to say, Kranky, but
no. I mean, Issa wanted to join the call with you. I don't know how to do that, so I got to learn to do that another time. But because Issa is basically saying that. I think the point Issa is making is this: like, look, 433 has made a point. He thinks it may not have been the best hire. I'm gonna put words in 433's mouth, but others are not coming back and say why it's a good hire, right? My view is, as I've tried to point on, try to be as objective as possible, is that if you say somebody has a 44% winning record, it doesn't mean they have a 56% losing record, because half the games are draw. So his record is just 30. He has lost 30-something% of his games. He's won 44%. The rest are in the middle as draws, right? And also, he's won a league in a foreign country, which says a lot about him. He's won the League Cup in England, which is hard to do if you're Middlesbrough. He has a 20-something years as a manager, even though he says his resume is 30-something years. That's all inclusive in terms of him working as a coach or manager. And I would agree he should be given the benefit of the doubt when it comes to the Jamaican national team, because as he mentioned at the outset, he's focused on people as one thing. He's focused on commitment, right? He gave about 4 or 5 things. None of them were tangible stuff. They were intangible stuff that he believes will that needs to be leveraged, that he's going to focus on in terms of the role that he has. I had about 12 things here I think he needs to do, which I won't get to tonight. But I would agree we have to see the team kick a ball with him first before we beat him to that. Even though, look, I want a Spanish coach. I've said this 101 times. But you know what? I got to get over that and move on.
Yeah, you're not, but Kranky, that's my point. You're not going around on every platform and saying, boy, Steve McClaren get fired 8 times, Steve McClaren get fired 8 times, Steve McClaren. But I'm just asking a question.
Yeah.
You're not doing that, even though you wanted a Spanish coach. Everybody know you wanted a Spanish coach. I've listened to you.
Yeah.
Right? First, I can't even tell you who he wants. So, you know, it's annoying. It's nauseating. It's like a little child or a little dog just napping at your feet and just won't go away. That's how it feel like to me. And I don't, you know, it's not like I have a, like I said, I don't even know Steve McClaren until he got hired because I don't follow the thing.
Yeah.
You understand? Yeah. But I think this guy is just nauseating the way he goes about. And here's another thing. He will dominate your whole program with that narrative. And he will, as soon as you start saying something, he start talking over you. I mean, it's just, it's excruciating listening to him going around on all these platforms, and he's the first caller, and that's what he goes around and say. And I don't know what his agenda is. Can a guy who doesn't even have an affiliation to Ole be so upset that Ole did not get the job?
You sure it's a Ole? So some are saying it's Ole, but I don't think he's agreeing that it's Ole. I think he probably, look, I think sometimes our expectations are higher than where we can reach. Right? We sometimes want coaches who have the highest pedigree, and they're not coming to Jamaica, some of them. Just not. The job is not big enough. The money is not big enough. The profile is not big enough.
Exactly.
Right? So we have to put our hands where we can reach. We have to put our money where our money can give it the best return. And I think Steve McClaren may be as good as it gets for us at this point in time. Rudolph did say he have over 50 coaches. There's a bunch of coaches out there. Who knows how many qualified? He narrowed under 5. He chose Steve, but Rudolph did also specify some of the criteria and things you were looking for. International experience, have club experience. The person has to have been a coach and a manager currently coaching. And what that means is on the field, demonstrating what should be done and how it should be done, not just in the booth, giving instruction to his coaches and his assistants. McLaren ticks all the boxes that he was looking for. Because his criteria, or JP criteria set up, he checked all the boxes. So they hired him. He speaks English really well. He's in England. He should be able to recruit. All those things are imperative, you know, especially the man management. Look, McLaren, the press conference went well, right? McLaren is very eloquent. He's eloquent. He's charismatic. He carries himself well. He engages well. Apparently, it had some engagement with Jamaica during COVID, even though it's remote to me. And he got some feeling for the people. So it's somebody Speed had met before that he felt comfortable with. That's also important, people, to feel comfortable with the person who's going to be you're working with on a long-term, well, on a 2-year basis, guys, not long-term. You got a 2-year job. So, yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And didn't you say, Kranky, earlier, you can correct me if I'm wrong, did you say that you have heard that the players
Yes. I was told long before this thing culminated that the players are supportive in the team. So that's what I was told.
So that's
the English. Okay, let me say this. Let me clarify that. The English-based players were supportive. Yes, I was told.
And that's all we need to know. That alone tick. You see that box? That alone is the biggest box tick for me. That the players are supportive, because what it means is that these players are going to not only come to represent Jamaica, but they're going to play. They're going to play for the coach.
And I can say, even though, don't say I say this, but I can say that I've gotten any intelligence that the players were supportive of the last coach. I'm not saying they weren't. But I haven't gotten any intelligence that they did. And that's important, people, because when people support you, they advocate it.
But you alluded to the fact that a certain player, reason why they weren't here, would have been because of the coach before. And I've heard that before too, right? So this is another plus, Issa, that this coach is more than likely the right fit if you want to look for positives, Issa. The positives doesn't always have to be in the, what you call it, the tangibles, Kranky.
Yeah.
The positives can also be in the intangibles.
Well, I think there are a lot of qualitative factors look, the coach mentioned, maybe mentioned standard, he mentioned behavior, he mentioned commitment. All those are intangible. No, they're qualitative factors, and they're not quantitative factors that he's talking about. Now, he also did talk about the players. He's going to play the best team, and he has to have quality players. Because he knows, because he was at Man U, it's about the players most times. It ain't about the coach sometimes, especially in the national football. How well can I bring these players together? How well can they adapt to my system? And can they go out there and execute?
And he also mentioned, he used this term, and he said it verbatim, I'm quoting him, square pegs in square holes. And what have we always been complaining about? Players playing out of position. So this is a coach who does not intend to do that, which is another box that we should all be happy about, because we have complained about players playing out of position ad nauseum on these platforms.
Yeah.
So there's another positive for you, Issa.
Yeah, and look, I think he also mentioned the list he got from the JFF, right? Which supposedly is a list of players who have Jamaican, and he talk about heritage players, Jamaican heritage, that maybe he may be able to source. So and he said when he go back, he's going to engage. Remember, people, we've never heard that before, you know. He said when he's going to go back, he's going to go engage these players, the ones we have now and the potential ones. And I'm sure when you're at Man U, even if you're the sweeping the floor at Man U, people have respect for you given the size of the club and the history of the club, even though they may be going through a challenging period. So if he's coached at Man U, people, players will take the call. They will listen. There's no doubt in my mind that's going to happen. They may not come, but they're going to listen. And they're going to consider it.
And he said he knows not only the players, he knows their agent, and he knows where some of them live.
Exactly. Exactly. So I'm sure some of those players, someone who, and I know people are going to talk about, reject, whatever the nonsense people want to talk about, but some players may not be part of the national setup for England, or they could have been part of the national setup, but don't have the cap. They're not capped out. I'm sure he'd be able to bring some of those players.
Yeah.
But he also talked about the need for us to make sure that the players are in the right environment and they're comfortable. It's important. You can't bring them here and they're going to get miserable and say, nah, come back because it's not work for me. Right? You got to create the right environment so they can feel really well and they can feel good, which means people go into the games too. The right environment is not just about the plane ride, and the hotel, It's about me coming to the football field and it's not an empty stadium. The stadium is full. They're calling my name. They cheer me when I make a bad play. They help me when I make they help me when I make a bad play. They cheer me when I make a good play. Right? They want me to be part here. They want me here. That support is an imperative. It's important. And stakeholders, all of them, sponsors, fans, need to be part of the equation. Yeah. All right, Peter. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, man, I feel good about this hire. And if I talk to my very astute brethren, like I told you, and he is happy about it, I'm happy about it because he know a thing or two.
All right, Peter. Thanks a lot for the call.
Respect. Yeah, man.
All right. That was Peter, people, giving his perspective, just like 433 give his. Everybody's perspective is welcome. Some may be different from others. Doesn't mean because you have a different view, because it's not about right or wrong. It's about which one can, to me, the assessment is, or what we use to judge this is, which one can stand up to scrutiny, right? Are there holes in your perspective which are big as you know what? Or is it that, you know what? Your arguments make a lot of sense. By the way, Ricardo, just like my argument about per capita for track and field, I'm not stopping talking about that because me and Minzy will have a debate about at some other point with fair judges because you and Claudine disagree with me. But anyway, people, it's been a wonderful discussion. Love the calls. Love the engagement. We can agree to disagree. Please, people, I have to call out somebody tonight, but I don't like that. Let's debate without being disrespectful. I know TikTok say I should call up Parson because I sometimes people, I'm trying to manage both what's happening in the chat and what I'm listening to. If Lansley Pastor was being disrespectful, I didn't really hear that. I hear him pushing on some things. Then I need to go revisit it and maybe have a conversation. But we shouldn't come on here and disrespect each other because we always not gonna always agree. That's a fact. And if we always agree, then we're just what? That makes no sense if we just agree about everything, right? Because nobody's perfect. We're not perfect. So if we disagree, we disagree. Then you make your point, and then people can judge what point they believe have more credence to it. No, TikTok. The reason why I say work for the TikTok, because I'm watching TikTok and today now, and yesterday now, and the last year on TikTok. You never, I mean, not use the word never, because that's not a good word to use. 99% of the time I hear TikTok, you support the JFF. No matter what they do and how bad the situation is. 19% of the time you support them. And the only people who do that, because I watch other people commenting on TikTok, and the more consistent comments, and the more frequent comments, nobody's like you. You're not class by yourself, TikTok. If you say otherwise, then you're not being totally transparent. You know, I love to use that word. I get beaten about it. TikTok, you're not being totally transparent, TikTok. And the people who are frequent this channel, other channels which are on TikTok, you can ask them TikTok. If I'm just exaggerating the situation. Most time, you support the JFF. Even when they're in the wrong. They're not always in the wrong, you know. But they're going to get the blame because the box stops with over is leading. Just like the JOA and the J3 are getting blamed now. And you know where they were getting blamed before TikTok? Even though it could be the same situation. Because we were winning. And when you win, it camouflages a lot. But TikTok, even when the girls win, there's problem. They will call it the JFF. Not the product was calling out the administration, TikTok. That's why it's a problem. Even when they were winning and doing well, they were calling out the administration that things are not right. That can't be right, TikTok. When you win, you camouflage enough things that don't work well. Enough things that work with TikTok get camouflaged by winning. So now the J and the J3 are getting their beaten because people are bringing up stuff even from way back when, which we never hear about, because we were doing so dominant on the world stage that you camouflage it with goodness because we win and euphoria. And if you call out an organization when you're perennial winners, people going to look at you with a skepticism saying, you know what? You're just negative because they're winning. How could it all be bad? But now that we have lost just once, in a sense, because we've been winning for a while on the TikTok, in the athletics, you know. No, for once, things went horribly wrong. People are pointing to all the things that happened even in the past, which never came to the forefront because we were winning. But even when the JFF win, TikTok, the people who are doing the winning or sacrificing buzz on the field are saying, you know what? We don't want to deal with this organization. So it's not disputable TikTok. So I'll sign up by saying these people. Love the conversation. Love the dialogue. Love the calls in. Love those who have been here. Appreciate you being here. So I didn't beat anybody about no likes. Can I move away from that? If people want, people who come here on a regular basis, I think we all agree about how that works. Those who come here subsequently, hopefully they will hit the like button. If they don't, I have to live with the repercussions for that. Also, if you haven't subscribed, people, please subscribe. And we're not trying to beat TikTok. We're not trying the TikTok. If the JFF does a wonderful job and a few mishaps, we're going to give them allowances. But we're tired of TikTok. So TikTok, how can you be okay with somebody who fire a coach who got the team to the second round, who fire John Wall, who call out certain things, and you go get 9 love, who has quotas in their system, which is illegal, unconstitutional, and just plain wrong, whether it's Jamaica Constitution or their own Constitution. How can you support those things, TikTok? I'm amazed at that. Who you going to come on here and say the local players is just about preparation when we see how they play on the field and they need to be improved? There's some things TikTok which are not disputable. They cannot be challenged because the facts are what the facts are. Some things which are subjective and not factual can always be challenged with a contrary argument. Some things which are factual, it's not about logic, are facts. You have empirical evidence to substantiate them. They cannot be challenged, TikTok. They are what they are. Live with them and move on. Yeah, Dre, I know Dre, but me get tired, Dre. Trust me, Dre. Me not like beg. For me, if you ask for something, it's killing me. So me I stop ask. Me tired of the asking, Dre. I was going to put up a thing, I don't know how to do it yet. When you come in, like I see on JD's program, you come in and it says, have you liked the program or not? And just don't talk about it, because then it's there. But I don't know. Women will learn if I do it, me do it. And if it work, it work. If it don't work, I say go. Dance was fire Kranky. I don't have anything to do about Wall. It's all about speculation. The answer was, okay. So how do you not renew the contract, TikTok, of somebody who does something in Jamaica football history that's never been done before? What's the rationale, TikTok? He did something that's never been done before in the history of Jamaica football, ever, and you get rid of him, and it's something good. You explain that to me, TikTok. About John Wall come out in the public domain and said the local players are not at the level they need to be. He's got to recruit from overseas. and John Wall was reassigned. And I got the list TikTok of the 14 players overseas to be part of the squad who were not part of the squad. And only one didn't have naturalization. And only one didn't get released by his club. And we're told that they didn't get released by the club and a lot of them weren't naturalized. I'm telling you what I know. This is not speculating. These are facts. So, look, I would love for us not to talk about the JFF. I have never heard an organization be talked about as much as they have in history of football. Seriously. We know Spain have problems. We know Canada have problems. We know other country has problems. We don't follow them 24/7. Even England have problems. But you know, England, when you talk about most, is the coach, not the administration, the coach. Because the players, them not complain. The fans not complain, the administration. But look, developing countries will have more of the administration coming to play because resources are always a problem. We all agree with that. But we know they can do better. And they don't want no help. They don't want no help. We know they can do better. So if you know you can do better, then do better. And we'll shut us up. That's why you need the JFF. Shut us up. Make sure that they light them at the stadium and the game can play 6:30 versus 3:30. If the person just called me tonight and say, what? He buy 3 tickets. He went to the game with 2 people. They said they're going to address the fact that 1 ticket wasn't honored. He can't hear from them. That's not okay. That's the problem. You can't afford him tracking, and he has been disrespectful towards you. Donaldson deserves it. He's in a better place. I don't think look, I said Donaldson fired himself, right? I said that before, that I'm going to say this. He contributed to his own demise when he got into confrontation with the JFF board person. I know it's going to turn. I heard her on his radio. I know they're going to fire him because he said she talked to our people then. But maybe that was a period where, you know what? You could have when you're a leader, if you can eat some humble pie, which the JFF can't eat, them have blockage of them throat, them can't eat humble pie. If you can somehow manage your ego, which them can't do, because them ego too big. If you can somehow, you know what, dumb things down, don't escalate them, which them can do because not in their repertoire, you'd be surprised how things work out well. TikTok. You'd be shocked how they work out better. Sometimes leaders have to say, you know what, I'm going to take a different approach. Because yes, I know I'm the leader and I can do certain things. I can just close this down. But you know what I'm going to do? For this one time, I'm going to just do things a little bit differently. The person know I could do it. I know I could do it. But I'm going to show them that, you know what, I'm the bigger person. Ain't no bigger person there, TikTok. Never happened, never will. So anyway, people, this has been a wonderful evening. Good conversation. Glad even TikTok, we welcome you being here on TikTok. We're not knocking at TikTok. You have your view. You have your perspective. It should be respected. Because he was lucky the girls back from the hired. Oh Lord, TikTok. TikTok, see TikTok. That's what I'm talking about, TikTok. You sound like the JFF just like by that saying that. What you just put TikTok is what the JFF would say and what they would do. No humble pie, no compromise, no harmony, dissension galore. Sometimes, you know what the biggest thing you can do? When you're in power and people know you're in power, dumb down the power. Make them realize, you know what? Even though I have the big stick, I don't always have to use it. That's leadership. When you lack leadership, when you always use the big stick. And all it does cause dissension, consternation, conundrums. That's what it does. It doesn't help you. So why would you always use the big stick when you don't have to use it? The biggest thing, when you know you have the power, that's the time you should be humble. Because you know you have it. You don't have to prove anything to anyone. It's crazy when we think that because we have the power, we have to use the power. No, you don't have to. That's when things work, is when you can manage that power in a meaningful way to achieve a common good. But anyway, I've talked enough, people. It's past my cutoff time. I, as I said, appreciate you being here. Thanks for being here. TikTok, have a wonderful evening. And everyone else, DC, Jason Gooner, 1-1, who would like to give me a hard time. Appreciate it being here, people. Have a great evening. I'm going to go out with my tune because since you know I listen to my tune, I'll play it as an outgo, so I'm not listen to it. I can log off. Me can listen to it. All right, people. Thanks for being here. I appreciate everyone. Have a wonderful evening. I may be back tomorrow. I may not be. I don't know yet. I'm stop making commitment about what I'm going to be on because sometimes it's difficult. And sometimes I do have conflicts that I need to manage. So thanks, people. I appreciate you being here, and have a good evening. Thanks a lot. Kranky life is the best to be now. For the best sports talk, and it's free, yo. Kranky life will be your guiding light by keeping you informed both day and night. Kranky life, tell them. Kranky life, heed them. Kranky life, want them. Kranky life. From the courts to the field, we'll never lose because Kranky has the hottest news. With expert analysis, we break it down. Our in-depth coverage is best in town. Kranky life, tell them. Kranky life, heed them. Kranky life, want them. Kranky life. Kranky life where the sports is spicy and where we keep the discussion lively. Kranky life, get to know the name because Kranky analysis is never lame. Kranky life, give me my Kranky life. I want my Kranky life. Must have my Kranky life. Whether it's football or track and field, you know Kranky is at the wheel. So join the journey through victory and defeat and subscribe and don't miss a beat of Kranky life. Tell them Kranky life. Heed them Kranky life. Want them Kranky life. If you're from England or USA, from Kingston or Bombay, from Kenya or Canada, Lagos or Havana, visit Kranky Live. Tune into Kranky Live. Like up Kranky Live. Subscribe to Kranky Live. Kranky Live coming to you on weekdays. Kranky Live sometimes on Sundays. Pull up a chair and take a seat because Kranky will always bring the heat. Kranky Live. Me say fi tell them Kranky life. Me say fi heed them Kranky life. On them Kranky life. Kranky life will be around. Kranky life is the best in town. Me say fi heed them. Me say fi want them. Me say fi heed them. Want them, heed them, want them. Kranky life. Kranky life. Heed them. Want them. Heed them. Want them, Kranky life. Kranky life. Heed them, want them, heed them, want them, heed them, want them. Kranky life. Kranky life. Kranky. Heed them, want them, heed them, want them, heed, want, heed them.